Okay, you are live, Chair Oslund.
Okay, great. Thank you, Christina. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. I'd like to call our May 11th, 2022 Parks and Community Services Commission meeting to order. Christy, will you conduct roll call and help us with our Zoom announcements, please?
Thank you. Before I take roll, let me note for the record, Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, I will conduct roll call and afterwards confirm certain matters for the record. Commissioner Dorlick.
Present.
Commissioner Breed.
Present.
Commissioner Mitra. Commissioner Mitra. Okay, Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Present.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesic. Student Commissioner Fenimola.
Present.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Here.
Chair Oslin.
Present.
Thank you. Based on the responses to the roll call, the record should reflect that all committee members can hear the proceedings clearly. Seeing no objection, I will turn the meeting back over to the chair with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Would you please lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I see Commissioner Mitra is arriving.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a technical problem to join in.
No worries. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Item 4, special items and announcements. 4.1, special announcements. Do we have any tonight, Kathy?
Yes, we do. Sorry about that. I had to find my mute button there. I have quite a few little quick announcements for you. So one, I'm pleased to announce that the city has received several awards, which we will be presenting to the commission when we have a lighter agenda. There were just a few too many things tonight to add them all in. However, I don't want you not to know. So in short, Jessica Reber received the Therapeutic Recreator of the Year from CPRS and was honored last night at the city council meeting. Adam Chow was recognized with the Distinguished Service Award in Recreation Management from Cal State East Bay. And we also received awards for culture in the community and the Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt from CPRS District 3. So more on all of those at a later date, because we'll want to bring the staff here and you can all talk about them at that point. As you know, the Art and Wind Festival is coming. We're so excited. Back to you in 22, and here we are. Thank you for those of you who are volunteering to help out in the rotunda at the Parks and Community Services table. You will all be receiving a letter confirming those times you're volunteering and or providing a parking pass, which will work in any of the lots. The closest is the BR3 lot, so that's the one I recommend. Just a quick reminder for everyone, the festival footprint has expanded into the Iron Horse Middle School. This was a dream of Kim Giuliano's way back when she imagined the festival, that we would eventually spread out and take over the whole area. Well, we're moving in. And also of note, the food booths that used to be on that far side by the tennis courts are now moving out onto the field with the stage. That area is being used by the fire department right now as they are remodeling that fire station. So there's one little section that will be not usable. So make sure if you walk across the festival to keep going so you don't miss something on the far side. Also, the June commission meeting, as you all know, will be going live. So we're going to skip our facility tour in June in favor of having a training session for those of you who would like to come in and get reacclimated with iPads, how to vote, what to do, how all of those bells and whistles in the council chamber work. So that will be at 6:15. So we'll have a little chance to do that for about 30 minutes, and then we'll take a 15-minute break before we start the meeting. Also, 2 items of note, because you may hear about them out in the community and I don't want you to be surprised. the Musco lights at the San Ramon Olympic Pool, those are those giant lights up on those giant poles, are finally going to be fixed and installed. So it's been about a 5-year project, but after multiple years, we'll finally get this done, and it will greatly improve safety at night because it's visibility in the evenings. The downside to this is that the pool will be shut down between 6:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. for a total of 8 days, 2 days before Memorial Day weekend, 2 days after Memorial Day weekend, and unfortunately, June 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, which is the first week of summer, but it's somewhat unavoidable. That is when we can get this work done. And it's been, again, 5 years in the making. So I just wanted you to all be aware of that. We still have the Doherty Pool. It will be open. We're able to accommodate the vast majority of our programs there. It just won't be at the San Ramon Olympic Pool. The other thing that I want you all to be aware of is that the San Ramon Valley Unified School District will be closing the Doherty Valley High School tennis courts for renovation this summer from June 1st through July 31st. They need to do this because if you're familiar with that area, there's been some cracking and breaking due to the area shifting. And so they really need to go back and redo those. That is going to put a strain on our tennis court supply during the summer. But again, it's a San Ramon Valley Unified School District project, their tennis courts, and that's when they've chosen to do it when school is not in session, so they can be ready for the kids' tennis season in the fall. And finally, we need to have a facilities committee meeting. So we want to talk about the Doherty Station Library, go back around that, as well as AEDs and parks. So if you can all save the date, I believe it's Julia, Carol, and Partha, 5/25, and let Christy know if that date doesn't work, because we do need to figure out whether or not we can do the facility committee meeting on that day. And oh, one more thing, there are a few upcoming events I got to tell you about too. The Symphonic Band Concert Evening at the Pops is on 5/20. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you all about that. We're having a Parks Make Life Better cleanup day at Crow Canyon Gardens on 5/21. And finally, I just said at the Art and Wind Festival, don't miss it, Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, Monday. That's it.
Wow. Thanks, Kathy. We have a lot to be proud of and a lot going on. So thank you very much. Item 4.2, temporary employee of the month for April, Alexis Claudio. We're going to receive a presentation from Adam Chow, Recreation Coordinator.
Good evening, Chair Oslin and Commissioners. Thank you very much for having me this evening. It is my honor to be able to introduce Alexis Claudio as our April temporary employee of the month. Alexis has been with us since November of 2018, so she's been with us for 3.5 years now. She's an office assistant with us and helps us out with all of our customer service at the front counters that we have throughout the facilities. So she's been working at the Alcosta Senior Community Center, San Ramon Community Center, and also our pools as well. And she has been very well versed in all of the different facilities and operations that we have at our buildings. So one of the nice things about Alexis is that she really knows what she's doing. She's been through every facility. She's probably answered every single question imaginable, which helps her be able to provide excellent customer service. A couple examples of things that she's done recently is she's really helped us be able to reopen the senior center this last year. When we reopened in July of last year, Alexis is one of the people who was instrumental to make sure that that senior center was ready to be open and actually was there to be able to welcome all of our seniors into the facility on a regular basis, make sure that their membership passes were up to date and make sure that they were correct. She also was there to make sure that everybody knew the different COVID procedures that we had going on throughout the building and make sure that everybody knew what programs we had at that time, as well as there were a lot of changes. And through the last several years she's been with us, she has always been one of the go-to people for us. She's always willing to be able to step in and take shifts or stay longer if needed, as we have needed additional assistance on a number of different occasions. She's always there to be able to help us out. So Alexis is a great team player. She's got a lot of passion for what it is that we do. She lives here in this community, so she understands what's going on and is a parent herself. So we want to thank Alexis for all the hard work that she does for her apartment, the energy and the passion that she has for what we do. And so thank you, Alexis, for all that you do, and congratulations on being selected as our April Employee of the Month.
Congratulations, Alexis. Would you like to say a few words?
Sorry, I'm not a Zoom expert.
Oh, you're doing great.
Oh, that's a lot to cover. Thank you, Adam. I just want to say thank you. I enjoy working for the city, my position as well. It's definitely a team effort. And I take pride in my work as always and try to help all of our customers out as best as I can. So thank you so much.
Congratulations. And we're
Thank
very
you.
proud and happy to have you on the staff. And
Thank you.
customer service is so important, and your smile and your professional attitude and can do really goes a long way. So thank you very much for your service and your great work.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments to make? Great. Alexis, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
All right. Item 4.3, recognition of our student commissioner. And this is me and our student commissioner, Thanamala. So one of my favorite things about being a commissioner is working and getting to know our teens in our community. And what better way to do that is other than through our teen council. Each year we have a new student commissioner who joins us in August and starts to attend the commission meetings. And we look to our student commissioner to help us put that light on what's important to the teens. And this year we've had the pleasure of working alongside an exceptional leader, Genevieve Thanamala. I have watched her grow and stretch herself in many ways. And she's led the teen council and has accomplished a lot of challenging opportunities with working remotely and having meetings remotely, and because of the pandemic. But that didn't stop Genevieve. I asked her recently a few questions about what she feels most proud of this year in her role as the teen council leader. And what were some of those challenges that she faced, and how did she overcome them? And what did she value most about this experience? So here's some of the things that she shared with me. Her most proud accomplishments were several. Her first was the increased ambassador interest. She had high applications, the most that they'd ever received to date. And she worked alongside with Anya, her vice chair, to help organize the ambassadors into their media subcommittees and encouraged meaningful participation. She's also really proud of launching Instagram for the Teen Council. After many years, they wanted this, but they finally were able to establish a Teen Council Instagram account. And the result is lots of creativity and lots of brainstorming with the teens. And the other thing that she mentioned was events. She has felt really proud of the events that they had in person. And that's really what made her most happy. Unity Day, Senior Tech Days, Tri-Valley Teen Job Fair, and the Tri-Valley Teen Advisory Meetings all resulted in productive and effective teen council participation. When I asked her what challenges she faced and how did she work through them, she said several. First was learning how to spark engagement when the group was disconnected. So having meetings remotely and having everybody on Zoom was hard to get everyone interested and involved in conversations. But what Genevieve did was she used that as an opportunity to engage the group by asking open-ended questions to spark connection and dialogue. During the winter months, they had kind of a light agenda. Things were already in motion. And so some of the items were somewhat repetitive and were updates and things like that. So Genevieve also saw this as another opportunity to initiate focus groups. So the Teen Council could gather information by connecting with their peers at all the high schools. How did they get their information? How did they find out what was going on? So Genevieve used this challenge as an opportunity. When I asked her, I'll get my notes here. When I asked her, what did she value most about being chair? She said meeting in person. She felt really strongly about having the direct impact about being together, working on projects together, having the opportunity to collaborate with her other hardworking peers who were very passionate about what they were working on. She loved getting involved in the city events, immersing herself. And she also really valued seeing the younger teen council members striving to get more actively involved. I also remember that OCTA was kicked off earlier in the year. So I asked Genevieve about that. And as a result of her working with our student commissioner Ramesh from last year, she was able to launch the promotion of OCTA earlier. And that kicked off earlier in the fall, which resulted in more applications. And she used the same approach for the ambassador program. Again, increasing applications and interest. My paper's all messed up here. I think overall, what I'd like to conclude is that Genevieve, when I think of 3 words to describe her, I think of first is intelligent. She always comes prepared. She's always very thorough. She's done her homework and she's ready for the conversation. The second thing I think about is that she's always very positive. She has a smile on her face when she speaks in front of the group. She has a bright, shiny smile and a positive attitude with how she expresses herself. And the last is she's very inclusive. She has worked closely with the teens to engage them and to collaborate with them and to encourage them to get involved. And so I think what I'd like to finalize is we're very lucky that we've had the opportunity to have our student commissioner, Thanamala, working with us this past year, being a part of the conversation, sharing her ideas. I especially loved having her input when we talked about isolation within the community. And when we talk about parks and what teens are looking for and the activities, she's been very, very a good contributor for all of us to really understand more about what teens need in San Ramon. So, Student Commissioner Thanamala, I know you have a big end of the year coming up and some exciting things, but on behalf of the commission, I just want to thank you for your service, for your encouragement with the teens on the council, and for just being here and for all your service the last couple of years. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all your kind words. That was very, very meaningful to me. And the Parks Commission has always just been so warm, and your dedication to the city is very inspiring, and I can see it every month. And I'm just very grateful to have the opportunity to see you guys every month. You know, just all your support for the city. It's very inspiring. Thank you once again for your words.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else like to add some more accolades to our great student commissioner? I see Commissioner Breed.
I just want to thank you very much, Cheryl. So I just want to congratulate you and also thank you for all the insights you brought to the meetings. And I got to tell you, even though I'm new, I love the Instagram account. I know my kids are using it, so it's been a great way to communicate and understanding all the hard work that went into that. And my only ask of you as you go on to future brighter things is stay involved, right? Stay involved in committees, stay involved in the government, and hopefully this gave you a great experience to do that because your voice is important and you brought a lot to the table. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Breed.
Commissioner Mitra.
Hey, Genevieve, first of all, it's been a delighting time to work with you, to know you, and to know that we have kids around here with your caliber, with your talent, working with us. And not only that, you have been an inspiring figure for all the other kids who are coming through the system, right? We have a new set of teen council joining, and they are looking at you as their role model going forward. So, I think thank you for your service. Thank you for your smiling appearance. Thank you for your motivating things for the new people, new kids who are coming along. I'm pretty sure your parents are hugely proud of you. We all are. So all the best. Take care, and also please keep involved with the community, with our community, and probably come back. The better, bigger Genevieve who can serve us more. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for your overwhelming support tonight and from the last year. I very appreciate it. And yes, I will stay involved. It's just been very inspiring.
Chair Oslin?
Yes.
I have a plaque that I would like to share, a beautiful plaque that we have for Student Commissioner Thanawala. So let me bring that up for one moment, please.
Great.
So she will be receiving at your next teen council meeting in person. So I just wanted you to know that we'll be receiving that. And
Congratulations.
also, Chair Oslin, we do have someone in the audience that would like to speak. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great. Let me just share my screen for the timer and we'll bring in the speaker. One moment, please. All right, speaker, you're able to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just want to wish the Teen Council, who you just gave the accolade to, my best wishes for her future. I don't have any visual of her, all these meetings that I've been participating as a public, but she has a very unique, friendly and warm voice, which I recognize. And I'm very, very impressed with how she handled the agenda and the procedures of the meetings over Zoom. This past few meetings that I've been attending, it is not easy, even for adults, to figure out, like, when to let whom speak and, follow the Brown Act. But I really feel that she did an awesome job that probably most adults, would not be able to do as well as her. So I think she set a very good example for her peers, which I hope to continue seeing in the coming years. And I also hope that she will now be a great inspiration and a role model that she, wherever she goes. And I am very proud of her. And thank you so much for allowing me to participate in the Teen Council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Chair Oslin, we do have one more person who would like to speak. Let me bring him in. Hello, Mr. Coach, you're able to talk?
Thank you. First, I just want to thank the Commission for allowing me to speak today. My name is Tim Coates, and I'm the president of the Board of Directors for the San Ramon Football Club. My objective tonight really is just to say hi and to thank you for all the work that you do. Our membership includes over 2,000 kids from the community, from ages what we call U8, which means the 6 and 7-year-olds, up to U19, basically those that are graduating high school. As a club, our mission is to develop our membership through soccer. That's what the mechanism that we use. We'll occasionally bring some of the parents along as well. Our programs are based on 11 pillars that we believe are foundational to building strong character as they begin life's adventures. And it's our partnership with the Parks and Community Services Commission that's vital to our club's mission. Without it, we could not offer the degree of programming that we actually do now. So I'm excited the opportunity to do more with this commission. So I want to extend an offer to you to come out to our tryouts either on Wednesday, the 25th, which I understand from earlier comments that you may actually have a conflict with, or Thursday, the 26th from 7 to 8 at Rancho Park. I think this is an excellent opportunity to show how our combined efforts are helping build a stronger San Ramon community, and hope to see you there.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no other public comment.
All right, moving on to item 4.4, Teen Council recognition.
Great, if you could just give us a moment and we'll start bringing them in as you want to start. Once we start.
So I'm just going to do a little bit of a preamble here that having a good leader, which we all know that Student Commissioner Thanamala is, but it also takes a strong team to accomplish great things. And we've had Johnny as a great team leader, but we've also been lucky and fortunate to have a great teen council as well, because individually and collectively, they have accomplished a lot this past year. So I'd like to pass the floor to Student Commissioner Thanamala so that she can recognize her teen council.
Thank you. The Teen Council, as all the council members this year, have not only inspired me with their dedication and their passion for student government and the city, but they've also just been amazing and just gracious people to work with. Whenever I meet them in person at events or talk to them on, at meetings, I'm always just so inspired and just so happy and warm to be around them. I couldn't have done anything this year without them and their just ambition. I'm so excited for the future of Teen Council. And with that being said, I would like to recognize all of the wonderful members of San Ramon Teen Council. I will state your name, and hopefully when I call your name, if you could just put a wave or put the hand up so people can put a face to the name. But okay, here we go. Sanjay Anasuri, Anya Ayapan, Tanishka Chawla, Emily Cooper, Suyash Goel, Arpita Gupta, Aditya Jain, Jenny Lin, Sahiti Malareddy, Himaja Nimagada, Dia Parameshwaran, Darshita Pratap, Aditi Sharma, Sachi Sharma, Sadhana Tadapali, Julia Vu, Kanishka, and finally Kanishka Varos. Thank you again, all of my teen council members. I'm gonna miss them so much when some of them are seniors too, when we all go off to college. Thank you.
So glad that you all could join us too. It's great to see you. Congratulations. And I know later on in our agenda, we'll have a report from the Teen Council of your accomplishments this past year. Congratulations, everyone. Okay. Going to move on to item 5, public comment or written communication. At this time, those in the audience are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item that is not already included in tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the commission live through the Zoom application. Do we have anyone here for public comment, Christy?
We do not have anyone with their hand up for public comment at this time.
Okay. I will close public comment. Item 6, approval of minutes. Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting of April 13th. Do I have a motion? Are there any changes to the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Take a roll call.
Yes, Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you, passed.
Item 7, consent calendar. Do we have any items for the consent calendar?
No, we do not.
Okay, moving on to commission business. 8.1, Teen Council Annual Report. We'll receive an introduction from Jennifer Galtz and a presentation by our Student Commissioner, Thonamala.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Jennifer Galt with the Parks and Community Services Department. I'm excited to introduce Genevieve Thonamala, the Teen Council Chair and your Student Commissioner, who's going to be presenting the annual report tonight. The Teen Council had another challenging year, as you guys have heard tonight, with the meetings being remote, but they are excited to have their first in-person meeting next week. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Genevieve for all her hard work and dedication this year. It wasn't easy keeping everybody on task and engaged, but she did a wonderful job. Now I'll turn it over to Genevieve, who's going to be presenting the annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, perfect. Oh, can we go back to the first slide? Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Genevieve Thonamala, and I'm the current chair for San Ramon Teen Council. I'm very pleased and grateful to be here tonight to present our annual report for the 21 to 22 term. Now, next slide. So, a little background before we begin. The Teen Council, founded in 1994, was created to inform and advise the city on issues relating to teens and outline the needs of the teenage population. The Teen Council is composed of 17 dedicated high school students who are very passionate about San Ramon, advocacy, local government, and just helping the community. Next slide, please. Teen Council represents high school students from all over San Ramon, including Doherty Valley, Cal High, and Quarry Lane. We are tasked with advocating for teen issues and acting as a liaison between the teen population and staff for program planning. Next slide. Here are all of our wonderful members, and congratulations to all the seniors. We've included their plans after high school and their colleges they're attending in the fall. I'll be attending Santa Clara, Jenny NYU, Sahithi UC Riverside, Himaja and Suyash Davis, Julia Stanford, Sanjay Indiana, and Kanishka UC Merced. Congratulations. So Teen Council has 3 appointed subcommittees this year. We have Public Relations, Programming, and Community Outreach. The Public Relations Subcommittee, led by Anya, focused on establishing points of contact across schools and local organizations in an effort to better understand the want and needs of teens in San Ramon. While maintaining the original purpose of fostering connections and partnerships, developing the Teen Council Ambassador Program became an important responsibility of the subcommittee this term. Next slide. The Teen Council received 54 applications for the Ambassador Program, including students from underrepresented schools such as Monte Vista High School, which was a new addition this year. All applicants were scored based on their applications and interviews. The Teen Council selected 23 middle and high school students for this year. The focus of the Ambassador Program is to serve as an extension of the Teen Council. The ambassadors reached out to faculty and leadership in their schools, along with prominent student groups in San Ramon. This was to gather content for the Teen Council's newly approved Instagram page and previous video project. This project allowed ambassadors to gain perspective on the variety of challenges teens face and ideas to address these challenges. This year, our OTCA and ambassador application flyers and just outreach materials were approved earlier in May of 2021. This allowed for an earlier and smoother release of our program in the fall, with a longer term or just more time to clean out a structure. Ambassadors had more time to create smaller media groups. Next slide, please. Our programming subcommittee, led by Sachi and Himaja, was created to identify youth events, programs, and activities that should be conducted in San Ramon for teens. The programming committees developed ideas to expand public awareness about the Teen Council and increase engagement. Next slide. This year, the subcommittee was able to make visual graphics for occasions such as Unity Day, which were used on the City of San Ramon's social media account. The subcommittee brainstormed and executed ways for the newly created Teen Council Instagram page as well, to generate more traction and spark awareness of upcoming events. Programming subcommittee chair Sachi was able to coordinate with the Californian, the Cal High School newspaper, to publish an article about members of Teen Council and their active role on the team, which was something new this year. Next slide. Our community outreach subcommittee, led by Jenny and Dia, was created to successfully reach out to teens in San Ramon and provide opportunities for teens to be exposed to new ideas and promote their own views. Next slide. The community outreach subcommittee focused on marketing the various Teen Council events throughout the year. Flyers were distributed in classrooms and local coffee shops for several events. The subcommittee worked to bring back Senior Technology Days to the All Causes Senior and Community Center. The Teen Council hosted 3 Senior Tech Days at the center, providing an opportunity for older adults to stop by and get help with tech questions. Community outreach also helped advertise and promote the Tri-Valley Teen Job Fair, where the Teen Council showed out to support teen interests in providing career opportunities and skill enhancement. Next slide. Teen Council members are required to serve 8 hours of volunteer hours each month. This requirement ensures an active membership in the community and encourages peers to get out and explore and volunteer. Teen Council members were able to remain active by participating in a variety of events, including Senior Tech Days, trail cleanup events, and, as mentioned before, the Teen Job Fair. Next slide. This year was a big year for Teen Council. In addition to having our first and our last meetings finally back in person, we were able to reinstate programs and create new ones. The Teen Council Instagram spurred amazing creativity from our Teen Council members. We had graphics drafted for Earth Day, Unity Day, and just a general introduction of Teen Council. We posted about, obviously, the Teen Job Fair, Senior Tech Days, Teen Council applications, and even city summer jobs available for teens in San Ramon. In addition, we hope to utilize the content created from the Ambassador Video Project in some way on our social media. This Ambassador program has created content that highlighted passionate teen organizations, our trails, parks, recycling programs, and cultural events in our city that have promoted and embraced diversity. Again, as mentioned multiple times, the Teen Job Fair and Senior Tech Days returned to in-person, which was a delight for me to experience in my final year, as well as many of our new members who felt more productivity and connectedness to their community, as well as members of the Teen Council. This year, we also had 2 Tri-Valley Youth Advisory meetings, where we met with teen youth groups from Dublin, Danville, and Pleasanton. The second one was actually just held just about 2 weeks ago in person, and the joy of our workshops are illustrated on our Instagram highlight. These meetings inspired the Teen Council with new ideas on how to address mental health and the environment by allowing members to create new initiatives or attend or be informed about teen events around us. Other partnership events that are not pictured on the slide were that we approved support for a Brighter Day Teen Talent Showcase for the second year virtually and advertised using city social media accounts. This was a great way for teenagers to earn scholarship money by showcasing their talents. We also approved support for Teen Council's involvement in the Scarecrow Scavenger Hunt, and we also received a presentation from April Rivera, founder of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse, about fentanyl awareness. Drug awareness is obviously a pertinent issue to teenagers, and council members were able to learn and discuss how we can curb misuse. Next slide. Moving on, here is our Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award recipient, Rhea Cross, who you may remember from this fall. He started an amazing recycling program that has helped San Ramon's very own tennis courts throughout the city. Next slide, please. Finally, our goals for next term are to research teen recreational opportunities and explore ways to support these opportunities and address new community needs. Research and execute partnerships with local organizations, businesses, and communities to promote teen wellness, mental health, and recreation, a big issue that's been brought up year after year. Continue with senior tech days and explore opportunities to collaborate even further at the All Costa Senior and Community Center. Continue organizing workshops targeted at youth conferences such as She's All That, as well as expand additionally into youth groups such as Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other organizations. A lot of these organizations or youth conferences have not been in session over the last 2 years during COVID, but we hope with the return that this way we can, coordinate with other teenage groups. Continue the ambassador program and increase the involvement of ambassadors at meetings and subcommittee meetings. Continue the OTCA award and seek partnership with local organizations for scholarships. Explore ways to build relationships with the school district, high school, middle school, and leadership classes. Look into possibility of appointing a liaison for each school. This arguably is one of the best ways that Teen Council can, inform the teenage public in the San Ramon City, as well as just hear about the needs of our teenage population. Explore collaborating on arts project with the Arts Advisory Committee or Dublin San Ramon Women's Club. Establish a stronger social media presence using the Instagram and develop a consistent content calendar. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide again. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to hearing your recommendations.
Right. Thank you, Student Commissioner Thadamala. Do we have, before we provide feedback, do we have anyone in public comment? Hands raised?
No, we do not.
Okay. Commissioners, feedback. Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Okay. Thanks for a great report. Teen Council is near and dear to my heart. And we're very proud of all that you guys do. And I think one of the things that I've learned from having kids, but also through Teen Council, is that the youth really leads in a lot of ways, and the youth leads on a lot of issues and initiatives. And the Teen Council is a prime example of that, whether it's tightening up, when I first joined the Parks Commission, whether it's tightening up the smoking ordinance or whether it's making sure we get an Instagram. I remember years ago when Teen Council was saying, we need a Facebook account, we need a Facebook account. And in a lot of ways, it was the teens that pushed that initiative to get the city involved in social media. Now, mind you, that's an oversimplification, but we rely and want to continue to rely on our Teen Council to push the envelope a little bit with us and help us, adhere to best practices and to do great things. So number one, thank you for that. And number two, to the folks returning next year, there may be times where staff says that's not doable for some valid reason, but don't get discouraged by that and keep bringing those ideas. And because you guys are on the cutting edge of a lot of issues in our community that you then bring to Teen Council, then bring to the consciousness of the city and those who run it. So I really want to validate that. The other thing is I'm really excited about the momentum of the ambassador program. I think that's awesome. I remember when we first started it and we were sort of feeling our way as to what this was going to look like and what these ambassadors were going to do. And it's super exciting to see that, especially having gone through that cycle of screening and interviewing Teen Council members, we're seeing the fruits of that labor. We're seeing ambassadors who felt valued, who felt like they were part of the team, to the extent that they actually want to be Teen Council members. And so that is a huge compliment to you guys, because a lot of that responsibility to validate that position and make it a legitimate part of the Teen Council experience, you guys have done that. So that is very exciting. And I just want to compliment you guys on those two areas. So keep up the good work. You guys are really important to us in our community.
Thank you. And yes, a big part of the ambassador program is making sure we can channel their ideas and encourage them to come back to Teen Council, because they're a strong and motivated group of people, and we would miss out to leave them behind. Thank you.
Commissioner Dorlick.
Great work, great year. Best of luck moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Breed.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know I went on and off. I apologize, Mr. Commissioner. I thought, hey, first of all, hey, thanks so much for the presentation. And I just wanted to highlight, first of all, thanks your whole teen council. And I just love the tech days and really the job fair stuff that you've done. I know we talked a lot about the ambassadorship, but having, your team go in and work with our seniors and teach them some of the technology, because I do a lot with my mother on that. I just know how important that is and how much patience you have to have. So, and I want to congratulate all the seniors in the great colleges. My feedback to you is two things for those going forward. During the application process for this year, I was fortunate enough to read through all the applications, and mental health came up a lot as an area of opportunity for this community that we live in. And I don't know, and I'm not saying the teen council has to solve that, but is there a way that we can continue to work as a partnership that go maybe find some solution for mental health, and whether it's a mental health fair or whatever for next year. But I think it's a big opportunity. You guys already called it out as one of your goals, but I really hope that bubbles up to the top. I think it's massively important, especially after reading every application almost had that on there. The other thing is the recreation part, the goals that you guys had. I do believe there's a big opportunity. I always call it the last generation, but between our 8th graders through high school, there's really not a lot to do on Friday and Saturday night versus hang out at Safeway or city center. But is there a way that we could create some type of recreation activity, leveraging our fields or something to keep some type of involvement, whether it's smash ball or tournaments or whatever? But is there some other things we could offer, that this important part of our population on the kind of the Friday, Saturday time period? So it's just an idea, but giving them something to go do. So great work by everybody. Hopefully the feedback is helpful. And thank you so much for a great year.
Thank you so much. And the recreation opportunities that you discussed to connect, our 8th graders or high schoolers and just the general population, I believe in previous years, before COVID, we had something like the Rock Band Showcase, which, kind of brought a lot of teenagers out there. Even those who weren't participating in the showcase, they came to support their friends. That was an all age group event. And so hopefully, the teen council moving forward does something similar, something more consistent. So yeah, 100% I agree with you. And on mental health and wellness, I know that every single teen council member, even on the board right now from 21-22 term, has expressed interest in creating some kind of program or some kind of infographic or something more tangible, to help our teenage population. Maybe 2 years ago, we did do a town hall meeting that kind of addressed it with, drug abuse and alcohol abuse, but definitely moving forward, I hope that the teen council hears your concerns and does something very specific and targeted. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Well, I want to thank you all for what you have done this year. It's been very nice working with you in the teen job fair and throughout, but I want to wish you and all the others much success in your future. So you've done a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just wrap us up. Congratulations, great year. Lots of challenges that you worked through, and great collaboration together. And so thanks for all your hard work, and best of luck as you enter a new chapter in your life and the seniors that are moving on. So we're excited for you, but please keep in touch with us.
Of course. And on behalf of Teen Council, I know that they are, endlessly grateful for all of your support. Thank you.
And thank you, Jen, too, for your leadership with the group.
Madam Chair, do you want me to make a recommendation on this?
I think we don't need any motion on this. We're just receiving the report.
Okay. It said it was recommended, okay, accept the teen council and feed it to and forward it to the city council. We do need that?
We don't need a motion. Do we, Kathy?
I think you usually have made one.
We usually
to accept the report and forward.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Okay, I move that we recommend the Park and Community Services accept the Teen Council Annual Report for 2021-22, provide feedback to the Teen Council for the 22-23 term, and recommend that this report be forwarded to the City Council.
Second.
Second that.
Great, we will take roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you, passed.
Okay. Moving on to 8.2, 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan Review. We're going to receive a presentation introduction by Keith Hayes, and I believe we have two presenters that will be sharing the report.
Thank you. Christie's bringing in our two presenters from the Open Space Advisory Committee, Chair Kalick and Vice Chair Peoples. So while that is taking place, I'll go ahead and start my introduction. Thank you, Chair Oslin and Commission members. I'd like to provide a brief introduction and then turn it over to the Open Space Advisory Committee Chair, Lorraine Kalick, and Vice Chair Bob Peoples to present the 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan. The plan being presented to you this evening elaborates and builds on a plan that was developed in 2013, known as the 2013 Open Space Plan. The current process started several months ago, and the committee feels the draft document is ready to be presented to both the Parks and Planning Commissions for their feedback. As you will hear during the presentation, the committee solicited feedback from a number of local agencies with interest in open space preservation. Some of those agencies included East Bay Regional Park District, various departments of the Contra Costa County, and local land trusts such as John Muir Land Trust, Save Mount Diablo, and Tri-Valley Conservancy. In addition, over the past few months, staff from Parks and Community Services, Community Development, and Public Works Engineering Division have worked with the Protection and Preservation Subcommittee of Open Space Advisory Committee to ensure that the proposed 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan complements and/or enhances current policy and practices, and in principle is in general alignment with the general plan and existing specific plans. After thorough reviews, city staff recommends that the 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan be further refined by a land use planning consultant with the additional resources and expertise to ensure the accuracy of the information, further vet concepts presented in the plan, and gather further pertinent information from outside agencies and/or landowners. The extensive work completed by the Protection and Preservation Subcommittee has created a solid base of information and concepts that can be further cultivated and developed to enhance the necessary safeguards to protect and preserve open space in and around San Ramon. Finally, before turning it over to Chair Kalick for the presentation, it is recommended that the commission receive the presentation and provide feedback to be incorporated in a final document to be presented to the City Council. And with that, I will turn it over to Chair Kalick.
Hello, thank you all. Thanks for having us tonight. We do have a slideshow, and thank you so much, Christy, for working that for us, handling our tech. This is a presentation of the 2022 draft Open Space Preservation Plan, Protection, Access, and Partnerships. And what we as the Open Space Advisory Committee would like to do is, this has been in your packet, so hopefully everyone has read this in advance. And what we'd like to do tonight is just kind of introduce ourselves and talk with you a little bit to get everybody on the same page and then receive your feedback tonight. So Christy, if you could do our next slide, please. So who are we? I'm Lorraine Kalick. I'm currently serving as the Open Space Advisory Committee Chair, and Bob Peoples is here tonight. He is the author of the draft presentation that you're going to see tonight. Julia Oslind is also on the Preservation and Protection Subcommittee, who have really, worked to put together this draft document that we would like to discuss with you tonight. So we will talk about our full Open Space Advisory Committee roster at the end of this presentation, so you can kind of see who all is involved. But what we're here to do tonight is present this draft of our 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan, Protection, Access, and Partnerships. And we're seeking your input because we are working through this draft plan to go from draft to final, and it will eventually be presented to the San Ramon City Council as a presentation of recommendations for a plan moving forward regarding open space protection. So what we would like from you tonight is to get your feedback. We are working, this is an aspirational plan, and we are working to get your endorsement and get the feedback from Parks and Community Services and from other agencies that we've worked with before, and that we will be, coming up in presentations and trying to incorporate that in our draft as we move to final, and would encourage your feedback. So what is the 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan? Where did it come from? Bob Peoples is the author and really the writer, composer, researcher of this plan. And so he will be working with you tonight to kind of do a presentation, and then we are both here to receive your feedback. So Christy, next slide, please. So our primary goal for 2021 going into 2022 was to update what was a 2013 open space plan. The plan update needed to happen because it was a little bit outdated, and we have really gone above and beyond in the scope of this in terms of what is included and the geographic area. So not just within the city boundaries, but extending beyond the city boundaries to the San Ramon, sphere of influence. And we've gone through a process within the Open Space Advisory Committee and with some of our partners, including East Bay Regional Parks and the city staff. And now we're, reaching out to Parks and Community Services, Planning Commission, and the subcommittee of City Council relating here, so that we can get this feedback, incorporate it, because we want this to be an interactive process as we work through this draft before we make our recommendations to City Council. So because Bob Peoples, our Vice Chair of Open Space Advisory Committee, has been the author of this, I'm going to turn over to him to present sort of kind of the background and information that was in your packet, and we have added a few extra slides just to make sure that everything is presented to you, and then we want to receive your feedback. So if I can turn this over to Bob, he will take the next step.
Thank you, Lorraine. If I could have the next slide, please. The plan for consideration by the City Council was an aspirational long-term vision to retain in perpetuity the open space in and natural vistas of the hills and other open space surrounding San Ramon. That vision would be achieved by maintaining current land uses contiguous to the city. Acquisition would be unnecessary as long as the current intensity of use remained unchanged. Acquisition of properties from willing sellers would continue, and also acquisition would be sought for other properties, if development of that property is contemplated. The approach builds on and extends previous initiatives and achievements, but is quite a different approach, I think, from other preservation efforts. East Bay Park staff, after reviewing the plan, characterized the approach as unique. Next slide, please. Geographic scope of the plan includes the city's entire planning area, which is more expansive than that was covered in the 2013 effort, but it's consistent with longstanding city intent expressed in the general plan. Involved are three segments: the West Side Hills area here, which has been the focus, most of the focus in the past, but also the Crow and Bolger Canyons segment up here on the west side, and here on the east side, the entire area of the Tasahara Valley within the city's planning area. The plan encompasses more than 8,750 acres of open space in the planning area, with less than 10% of that within the city limits. More than 60% of the area has some level of protection beyond planning requirements, although some of that protection is limited and or of short duration. The Appendix B of the report that was provided to you shows the segments, and there are maps of each segment, showing parcels and their protective status. More than 2,200 acres of this area have been protected since 2013 or are in the process of receiving protection. This is a truly commendable situation, reflecting a lot of effort over decades by people in the city, but much still remains to be done. Next slide, please. Having spent a lot of effort reviewing and analyzing the situation, we identified 4 goals that should be achieved to realize the vision. This includes maintaining existing land use, uses in and the rural character of the area bracketing the city, sustaining its natural systems, the eco-services provided, the ecosystem connectivity involved, while also protecting cultural and historic values, facilitating use of these areas consistent with the other 3 goals and private property rights. And very importantly, strengthening existing and creating new partnerships, especially with landowners and residents. Next slide, please. Based on the information and insights about existing and likely future circumstances that are going to be encountered, suggest, which was developed during the planning process, the committee concluded that a more comprehensive effort is warranted, appropriate, and desirable than what has been done in the past. Beyond protection and preservation of open space and the rural nature of the area contiguous to the city, a multifaceted effort to achieve the goals involves 2 additional elements. One of them would be provision of access to open space, especially to lands that have been acquired by East Bay Parks and other public entities. And secondly, enhancing partnerships with those involved in maintaining and preserving open space. And that would include East Bay Parks, the land trusts, but also landowners and residents in the area of concern and throughout the city. Next slide, please. Maintaining current land uses in the area effectively protects the open space involved, as well as its maintaining its rural character. But the continued existence of that open space is tenuous if land use change is sought or the property is sold. I think it's a simple fact of life that economic pressures affecting open space and landowners can't be avoided nor deflected for long. Based on the work we've done and developing an understanding of issues and opportunities involved has increased substantially as the plan evolved since last June when we began. I very much appreciate that the committee has approached the task with an open mind and was willing to shift the focus of the plan as the situation was better understood. One of the major conclusions coming out of this is that because most of our acquisition is done on an opportunistic basis, from willing sellers, We probably don't require the extensive detailed priorities such as those that were contemplated in 2013. Instead, protection and preservation of the open space needs to focus on two indicators, threats of development and closing trails. And these will be sufficient to establish, relevant priority recommendations. Next slide, please. There are 12 tools and near and longer term actions to enhance protection of open space that are suggested. Those are listed in some detail on pages 19 and 20 of the report that you have seen. Several of those actions that are listed there are really currently employed by the city and East Bay Parks and so forth. And they're included here to reinforce their importance as part of a comprehensive protection strategy. One of the things that we felt was important is that the city and East Bay Parks should be negotiating with owners of the most threatened properties, not just with willing sellers, people that have expressed some interest in selling the land, but more aggressively approach people we believe have properties that are most threatened with development. Next slide, please. Other recommendations would identify and pursue additional funding to carry out open space activities, protect open space. And we also suggested exploring some alternative protection and preservation methods. One in particular was using transferable development rights, a greater use of transferable development rights rather than having to purchase the property outright. We also urged that new development be limited to the existing urban footprints of the city rather than sprawling out into open space as has been the case in the past. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, another aspect of this that became apparent was important for us to address was access to the open space, in part because as you talk to people in the city, access to the open space is essentially inseparable from protection of the open space. They are the flip sides of the same coin. There are several factors that limit access that we identified. Clearly landowner concerns. People that own the property, don't like have people coming across their property. But also East Bay Parks and other agencies that own that have a lot of concerns about opening up the properties for public use until they have done a fairly thorough study of the land use planning for the area so that they have a sense as to how it's going to develop over time. And that is also very difficult and time consuming. Next slide, please. There are 5 near and longer term actions addressing the limitations identified in the report on page 21 of the report. 3 of those recommendations involve working with East Bay Parks in various ways, both have immediate impact and then kind of taking a longer term look at it. But 2 of those recommendations relate to potential new trails in the city. I just learned this week that one of the areas that we identified for inclusion, the connection between the Bishop Ranch open space at the Morgan Road entrance across to along the side of the ridge across to Memorial Park was included in the 2013 Trails Master Plan. So that's a nice affirmation of something that we had seen but weren't aware of that previously. Next slide, please. The third element of our proposal is to maintain and enhance partnerships with more than 90% of the area of concern of this plan being outside the city boundaries. The city is very dependent on others to do a lot of the work on this. We're going to need the support from multiple partners to achieve the intent and goals of the plan. This includes several organizations such as East Bay Parks, some county agencies and county officials, as well as local land trusts. But we're also want to enhance goodwill and support of landowners and residents within the area, as well as other residents throughout the city. Next slide, please. There are 4 steps laid out in the plan on page 23, recommendations to enhance partnerships. They're all, I think, very doable kinds of actions, but they need to be highlighted and focused on and maintained into the future. Next slide, please. Threats to open space are dynamic, and they'll continue to grow and evolve. So regular review of the situation is essential. The plan outlines the need for that and the intent to follow up on this plan. The plan also represents a common understanding of open space issues and opportunities, which I think the committee has been developing, and hopefully eventually the broader community will share that understanding. It also provides a framework or a platform for the committee and the city to respond to threats to open space in a timely fashion. One aspect that came about as a result from city staff comments was that we didn't pay as much attention in the plan to economic effects of preservation initiatives as we should. So that was added to the plan as a result of the city comments. This completes my portion of the presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, Lorraine, for the last couple of slides.
Very good. Thank you. So Christy, if we could have the next slide, please. So just to let everyone know, so Bob Peoples and your chair, Julia Osland, are part of our Preservation and Protection Subcommittee of the Open Space Advisory Committee, and they have really been key in putting together this report. And what it is really a series of recommendations that the City Council can act upon or not. And what we are looking to do in this draft phase is to get your feedback, to get your opinions, to get additional information so that we can include that as we move forward with our recommendations to City Council. So part of the charge of the Open Space Advisory Committee and the members that you see here is to advise City Council on threats, acquisition opportunities, and just open space protection in general. So what we are looking for tonight is hopefully everyone has kind of read through this plan, and we're looking to get your feedback. And I guess I will turn it over to your chair, Julia Osland, to kind of direct how that will work for us this evening. And we will scribble copious notes and, follow, onward. But, we thank you for, listening to our presentation, for reading this report, and for giving us your feedback.
Great. Thank you, Lorraine, and thank you, Bob. And also thank you, Keith, for setting the stage, bringing us up to speed to where we are today. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into this. It's very detailed. The report has all the backup information. What I'd like to do first is offer an opportunity for the commissioners, if you have clarifying questions, to start with that. Then I'd like to open it up to public comment if we have anyone in the audience that wants to comment, and then we'll provide our feedback. So I see a hand raised. Commissioner Dorlick, do you have a clarifying question? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, one question, one clarification. Are we going to get the other slides that were presented but not included in the packet?
Yes, Commissioner Dorlick, we can, Christy can send those out tomorrow. They will be incorporated into the final packet that's posted online as well.
Okay.
Did forget to mention that in my opening spiel.
Okay, then my clarifying question is, the statement was made that more than 90% of the plan area is outside of San Ramon city limits. So I'm trying to get, understanding if 90% of the plan area is outside of San Ramon city limits, how is it involved in San Ramon open space? I mean, if we don't have control over 90% of what's in this plan, and we're relying on partnerships and et cetera, I just want to get a clarification on how that applies to the city of San Ramon going forward.
So the original plan in 2013 included what was just in the city limits itself. And the update to that includes what is in the city limits and what is in our sphere of influence and what is in our related nearby open spaces. So we're really leveraging our partnerships with our nearby agency, East Bay Regional Parks, the land trusts, the private owners, to make our recommendations for preservation to include those entities as well.
So let me ask the question in response to that. Is that 90% of the plan that's outside of the city limits include the sphere of influence areas?
Yes. If I could respond to your original question, this open space is important to the city residents. A lot of the vistas you see of the hills, particularly to the west of us, are outside the city limits.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But I mean,
the city has an interest in maintaining it.
Well, no, I understand, but still, if 90% of what we're talking about is outside of the city limits, I mean, and I guess the clarification again was, but the sphere of influence is part of that 90% or part of the 10%?
Everything on the west side is within the sphere of influence of the city. The Tassajara Valley is within the city's planning area, but not within the sphere of influence.
Okay, so I mean, so what we're really looking at is it's more like not really a San Ramon City, but San Ramon Valley Open Space Committee. I mean, I'm just trying to get a clarification of how it's going to be implemented and where our actual influence is. I mean, if it's through creating partnerships and, linkages, et cetera, I understand that, but I just wanted to get that clarification that if most of what we're talking about is actually outside of the control and purview of the immediate, city council, city government, city, auspices, then we've got, a different approach to the open space.
It is a different approach, but again, historically, because of efforts going way back to the incorporation of the city, 40 years, coming up on 40 years ago, 60% of this area has some level of protection because of those cooperative efforts, and it reflects the city's interest in maintaining those open areas. So it's an approach that works, and it's because the city is interested in maintaining those vistas and maintaining that open space for use by city residents as well as others.
No, totally understand. I just wanted to get a clarification where our actual authority, if you will, lies over these lands. And if it's 90% outside, then, we have a different relationship with what we need to do in maintaining and or enhancing these.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to have clarifying questions, and I see Vice Chair Kinnison Lee.
Thank you, Chair Olson. One of my questions is, are we intending to get input from the land use consultant before sending this to city council? Will their input be incorporated into the plan before it goes to city council?
So the plan currently is to receive tonight's feedback, go to the planning commission, take both the planning commission, the parks commission, feedback to the city council policy committee with the staff recommendation that it go to a land use consultant at that point. So it would go to the city council policy committee prior to going to a consultant. That is the current plan.
Okay. Yeah, okay. My second question is for staff, and that is, how many FTEs do we have addressing open space right now? I know, Keith, obviously part of your job is to deal with open space. I know there may be people in public works or other folks. So what amount of staff are we devoting to open space at this time?
Great question. There are individuals in the engineering department, GIS. So to name, it's the division manager, GIS individuals. It would be myself in Parks Community Services. There is a program manager as well as supervisor in public services, as well as some of their specialists that then help maintain the trails.
Okay, and so along that same line of questioning, whose job is it to, from a staff perspective, to keep an eye on properties that that we're looking at for open space? You know, so would that be you, Keith? Is that sort of part of your job?
No, that is not my sphere of influence there. So typically the land use or land issues that come up or availability that comes up comes through the city manager's office, or it may come through planning. We may hear about it, and then any land transactions or anything like that go through the city manager's office, if I am correct. Is that, yes, Kathy's
You're getting the thumbs up from Kathy on that question. Okay, and then
And part of the open space advisory committee role is to keep our feelers out into the community and into, you know, the folks that we interact with, and bring these things to the attention of staff, city manager, anyone interested, you know, so that they are aware as things come up in conversation.
Yeah, no, and I think that Bob made that clear in the plan, and you've made that clear from your side of the coin. I was specifically curious about sort of what the staff side of the equation looked like. So thank you for answering that. And then just two more questions. Thank you, Chair Oslin, for indulging me here. Another question is with regard to maintenance of open space. I didn't see that heavily addressed. Maybe once or twice was the word maintenance or maintain referenced. Where, in what city document, aside from the general plan, well, it couldn't be the general plan, but what city document do we largely address maintenance of open space?
To my knowledge, and Kathy, you can jump in here as well. And I thought Scott was on this, but go, perfect, thank you.
No problem. If you were involved and saw the CIP presentation, you'll notice that we just added a specific CIP to address maintenance, specifically of trails. Now, within the city limits, there's the GAD, so that falls under our public works and engineering departments. And so it is an interesting situation. And to address your other question, all of the departments have a little bit of this puzzle, and
other agencies for that matter, right? We're dealing with 90% outside of our city limits. And so I get there are a lot of moving parts. Sorry to interrupt, Kathy, go ahead.
Oh, no, and you're absolutely correct. And so East Bay Regional Park District is a primary partner. And so we're in constant contact. Mostly the city manager's office is mainly in contact with East Bay Regional Parks as they talk about land and opportunities, and the open space is a part of that. The committee. So they all kind of come together.
Yeah.
But the budget sits primarily in the CIP and in the public works maintenance budget.
Right. No, I get that. Yeah, I guess what and this is just because I've asked the question, was looking for a place where it's sort of summarized as effectively as possible in some way. And I'm not sure that the plan, it may be the plan, but I'm just raising the question. I think that's a big part of this effort. And then my last question is with regard to, I think I'm going to hold off on my last question, actually. That's good for now. I've done enough for right now. Thank you, everybody.
To help with your last question about maintenance, that is a element that could be included in a trails master plan, which the Open Space Advisory Committee is currently looking into and prioritizing different elements. So that would be one document in the future that we could turn to. And if you look at the Parks Master Plan, there is a goal that is related to maintenance and using U.S. Forestry or East Bay Regional Park type of standards to maintain our trails, which obviously if we go down the Trails Master Plan road, obviously we would be looking at that for a consultant to tie in.
Yeah, I anticipate this is going to be becoming an ever increasing question that we're going to need to answer. And so much as in the way that this plan that Bob has crafted looks to the future, I think we need to be looking to the future in this way as well, but I'll reserve my other comments. Thank you.
I could just say that this plan really focuses on outside the city limits, and there will be no cost to the city in the future for most of this area. The trail master plan and so forth is going to be focused on the trails within the city, as I understand it. So it's an issue that we're aware of, and it's addressed in the economic analysis section right at the end of the plan. It was raised by the city staff, and we've tried to address that. But right now, the costs associated, those kinds of costs associated with the plan that's proposed are going to be borne by others other than the city. Although the city does have its own trail systems and so forth that it has to deal with in the future, but they're kind of separate issues right now.
Thanks, Bob. Commissioner Mitra.
Hi, first of all, thank you, Kate, Lauren, and Bob for an excellent presentation. Really, thank you on that. Couple of clarifying questions, and maybe because I'm not pretty aware of these things. I was looking at the slide where it said acquire open space property, and this is you're talking about priorities. Two questions. Acquire means do we normally purchase that land? That's one question. Acquire, I just wanted to be clarification on that. Acquire means purchase or something else. And the priority, how do we do the priority? I mean, what kind of priorities do we assign to that? I have a follow-up question, but if you can just address that, I'll really appreciate it.
Bob, I'll let you.
Yeah, the acquisition is one method of protecting this land, and right now, the acquisition, the policy, the city policy is, to be involved with land that's acquired from willing sellers. I think East Bay Parks, as I understand their approach, they would prefer to deal with willing sellers as much as possible. They have East Bay Parks has funds for acquisition of land, and they acquire quite a bit of land. Other protection methods, one of the other primary methods is through Williamson Act contracts, whereby the county pays landowner or reduces the taxes that landowners pay if they sign 10-year contracts, which are renewed annually. And that protects a great deal of the land within these areas. Some of those contracts go back to almost 50 years. So it's protected, and the funding comes from taxes foregone, basically, to pay for that. There are also opportunities for landowners to sell the mitigation rights to their property, and they get protection for that, but there is no public funds that are paid out as a result of that.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yeah,
Mitchell?
I was also looking for the priority. Just give me some
Well,
idea, like what kind of priority. Yep, go ahead, please.
The priorities that we're recommending, as we said there, we spent a great deal of time, trying to build on what was done in 2013, where they had very detailed priorities based on attributes of parcels, biological attributes, and their geologic hazards that are associated with them, and so forth. We spent a great deal of time working on that, but as we worked on it, it became apparent that the really relevant priority here is the vulnerability of the property or a parcel to be developed. If you want to maintain it into the future, you need to focus on those that are most vulnerable to development initially. So we began to focus on those kinds of attributes. There's a number of them listed in the report, metrics that you can use. And we have in the report identified what at the moment appear to be the most vulnerable parcels in the area that we're looking at. The other indicator of priority, which is really important, and it relates to access, is trying to connect trails. There are a number of trails on Bishop Ranch open space, but East Bay Parks owns some land to the east, to the west and south of the current Bishop Ranch open space, which is being held in land bank status where it's not accessible to the public. And part of the reason, beyond the need to come up with a land use plan that allows access for that area, is that they don't have trail connections leading into that. Most of the connections have to come through Norris Canyon Estates, and the trail easement that was originally established for Norris Canyon Estates terminates in the middle of the existing development. So there is a gap in the trail there. So that the ability to close those gaps, the parcels that allow us to close those gaps become a very high priority in our recommendations.
Okay. Yep, makes sense. If I may just have a follow-up questions, different kind. It's somewhat related to Commissioner Dollich's question about 90%, which is out of city limit. If we are looking at 90% of most of it outside the city limit, that means we need to be working with the adjacent cities and the East Bay Parks. I think we have already got the answer, so I don't want to stress too much on that one, but just wanted to say it's not just we are working on that. We have to collaboratively working with adjacent cities, East Bay Park, and everybody. And we all are trying to get that, get those lands, vulnerable lands, protect those things, right? Just wanted to confirm.
Yes, and that's why we have stressed, including partnerships as an element into this, not only working with the adjacent jurisdictions,
right,
but also, with the landowners and residents in those areas.
And Lorraine, do you want to add something there? Yeah.
Yes, for this plan in particular, it stresses partnerships. We put that right in our title, that this plan includes our partnerships, and that is part of the goal of the Open Space Advisory Committee in general, is that we have outreach and we really maintain these partnerships with the folks around us, because it's not something that the city of San Ramon can do on its own. And we really need to maintain these partnerships, work with the landowners, work with the trust, work with the East Bay Regional Parks, Save Mount Diablo, all of our partners, internal and external, to make these recommendations and to make them work, so that hopefully we can preserve these spaces for the benefit of everyone.
Thanks.
Commissioner Dorlick, I see your hand up. You have another clarifying question?
Yeah. I mean, I saw in the plan, some specific lots, et cetera, that were targeted as threatened. But could you clarify transferable development rights. I mean, is this actually purchasing almost like an option on development?
No.
Like you would with stock, or what is that? What does that mean? And how?
If somebody owns a property that has, that we'd be interested in, or East Bay Parks, you know, the city's interested in seeing that it gets preserved by whomever. If they own that property and it has, you know, there is an ability under land use planning requirements, the zoning and so forth, to develop that area. That's a certain number of units of housing or whatever. They can transfer that that ability, those number of units, to another property, you know, maybe in a developed area, and increase the density in the developed area. And at the same time, they would there would no longer be possible to develop the parcel from which those development rights were shifted. This kind of, I don't know if you've ever heard about the bundle of rights theory of property ownerships, but you know, property.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that. Yeah, I have a master's in real estate, so I'm very familiar.
Well, yeah, but again, the development rights can be separated from the rest of the property, and it can be transferred to another property where you use it to increase the density that would occur there. And it's a technique that can be used. With the city has used that to some extent to protect some open space in hillside residential zoning, where they encourage cluster development of houses rather than spreading it out across a property. They have the cluster. They cluster it in a small area, so you have a portion of the property that becomes protected and functions as open space.
Yeah.
So they do that on a limited extent already, and what we're proposing is a broader use of that. And again, that's going to require partnerships with the county. You know, the land outside the city is all within the unincorporated Contra Costa County, so we're going to have to work with them on that kind of an issue. That's kind of a longer term recommendation. It's going to take some time to develop that and to implement that, but it's something worth looking at. It's a way of acquiring the rights to the property without having to spend appropriated funds to acquire it.
Right, and it's dependent upon certain other ownership requirements, you know, going forward. And we had this conversation last year when the plan was presented, because I mean, the City Walk project is a great example of, you know, a balance between providing necessary and needed housing and providing access to open space in a close and nearby situation. So just wanted a clarification on that transferable development right. But again, it's dependent upon the ability to have the properties and have the transferable rights in that situation. All right, thank you.
Okay, great. I don't see any hands up for additional clarifying questions, so I'd like to open it up to public comment, and then we can provide our feedback.
Great. Let me just take one moment to share my screen and bring up the timer. One moment. Speaker, you're able to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to try to be very diplomatic, but it's really difficult to be diplomatic when I feel that tonight you're really pitching snake oil, you know, in the name of open space preservation. How can open space preservation equal to private landowners wanting to sell their land? And I don't know why I'm paying for the 15 years, $200 every year into Doherty Valley GAD when these land have private owners. Why are they taking my money to cover their private land? What exactly are you guys doing? And what jurisdiction do you have? You have zero authority. These aren't even in your jurisdiction. The presenter, Haas, just said 90% is outside of the city boundary. What are you guys doing? Is this why last night there are almost $3 million on CIP or that's already earmarked for something in Doherty Valley GAD? Is that going to pay the consultants? You guys are so dishonest. This should not be voted tonight. I beg of you to please urge the staff to go to the city council, who are also the trustees, the board of trustees for Doherty Valley GAD. They need to have a workshop and invite everyone on DV GAD by giving them proper mailing, and they need to be briefed. If you don't go through this and you vote on this, you vote on your own, hazard to be sued later. I just can't see how this can be possibly legal at all. And I am wondering if any commissioners in the open space committee are in the pockets of developers. If you are, please recuse yourself and disclose it right now. Or otherwise, later on, if it is discovered that you have any monetary or financial interest because of your position and you are able to influence these decisions, I assure you, you will be sued. So please, Parks Commission, I beg of you, please do not vote on this tonight for the reason I just mentioned. It is not in our jurisdiction, and there are at least 11,000 homeowners in the Doherty Valley GAD district those people need to be properly advised and briefed on what you guys are trying to do. And number 3, there needs to be disclosure on who are these people sitting on open space if they're in the pockets of the developers. Is that why that, Mr. Haas was trying to pimp out the Doherty Valley GAD trails to Sunset for signage? And now it's all becoming very clear to me. This is definitely snake oil. Please be careful what you do tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further public comment.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment. And so what we're looking for tonight is providing feedback and recommendations to the report that can then be revised and forwarded to planning and to city council. So I see Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Thank you, Chair Roseland. Okay, I'm going to go through this methodically. I want to start by saying, Lorraine, I see really strong leadership in you and in this open space effort. And in all honesty, I appreciate that. Everything from making sure that new members are up to speed so they can hit the ground running. I really admire that because that means that the committee will be that much more effective. So things like that, I'm really impressed with. Bob, I really want to say to you that I see the passion in your writing. I see the extensive amount of work and research and benchmarking that you've poured into the document. So I want to validate that because there's a lot of work that's gone on. I love that there is a proactive approach to this effort because we all know that land use planning is a lot about not just addressing the here and now, but it's about what happens in the future. And so that's a very good approach. I really particularly appreciate the collaborative approach, and the partnerships really resonate with me. We're not in a bubble, and we should be partnering with external agencies and looking at where our jurisdictions intersect, where we meet. That's just what you have to do. You cannot operate in a bubble. It's just the reality. I do support the use of a land use consultant. I feel like, I think the way you guys characterize it is there's a solid foundation here. And I'm sure once you get that consultant into the mix, they're going to be really impressed with the work that you've done thus far. I like the long range planning. I mentioned that. I also like, these are the things that I really like. I like the focus on connectivity. I want to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Also the historical preservation. I think that's really important. I'm going to throw out questions that I have that don't necessarily need to be answered, but as you consider the evolution of the document, I'd love for you to keep those in mind. I understand what you guys mean by acquire open space property regardless of priority. In my mind, what you're saying is if there is an opportunity to gain some open space, to protect some open space, regardless of where it falls on the priority spectrum, you need to give that attention. And so I feel like there could be almost like a two-tier articulation of that process rather than have them be isolated from each other. So I feel like there could be a little crafting of the wording of that to make that a little clearer, that it's not that priorities will be completely disregarded. It's the fact that the first approach is to see what opportunities exist. And then the second tier is to really look at, because it's really a two-tier approach. The second tier would be to look at the priority structure that your team has established. The other thing is I would recommend more emphasis. And now I can tell you exactly where each resident reference is in that document. Okay. And yet and still, I would strengthen the reference to collaborating with the residents. Okay, there are a couple of areas where that's especially important. We know that parking is an issue with regard to trail access, and so I feel like we need to have a little more robust addressing of some of these things. We know that with regard to trails, some residents have brought up concerns about safety. We need to acknowledge that. We need to make that part of the discussion. It needs to be addressed in the plan. It's almost like this is like a train moving forward. It's the open space train, and it's like there's no question what the agenda is, but we need to slow it down just a scotch, and we need to say what are those peripheral issues? Safety. The other one was the maintenance. I talk about maintenance. Just last night at the city council meeting, we heard residents talk about, the tall grasses or what have you. And we know that we have a maintenance schedule that addresses that. This is the document where you set that tone. This is the document where you address the things that you know of concern to residents. So I feel like the whole, issues that would be of concern to residents where there's resident impact, you may want to include it in the section access to open space. You may want to even go as far as to include that in the section under partnerships. Should our residents not be partners in this process? I would go so far as to say we need to list them as partners, right? In addition to all the agencies, okay? So those would be some things I would look at. I think it's good that you mentioned in the plan engaging our landowners. I think that's valid. I think that having a good relationship with landowners who have property that we are looking at in terms of protecting open space, we want to have good relationships with those folks and know what's going on. So I asked previously in my questions about staff. I don't think it's all that crazy. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm just throwing the idea out there because we know we don't ever really cast judgment till we see it fleshed out, to have a dedicated staff member. And I say that looking straight at Kathy's little screen, knowing that we are down 6 Parks and Community Services staff members, in our budget, right? I get that. If this is a priority for our community, I don't think it's all that crazy for us to have an open space coordinator, okay? I'm just throwing that out there for somebody to look at because, we have coordination with agencies. We have liaison to our advisory committee. We have folks that need to keep up on state and federal laws as it pertains to preserving, protecting open space. I think that's important. So that's something they could certainly work on. One thing along those lines that I think you could include in the plan is some mention of really tracking, and there's one place where it sort of alludes to it. I get a little stronger about the plan tracking legislation that impacts open space preservation. I think that is, from what I have heard, and it's hearsay, that is going to be, we know the trend is to look at housing opportunities and addressing affordable housing and housing needs and the housing shortage. So we're going to want to be really aware of what those laws say as it pertains to open space preservation. That's another thing that I think is really critical. Let's see here. Oh, and I guess the final thing for me would be, you talked about, Bob, fleshing out funding sources, or talked about sort of being a latter addition to talk about funding and the economics of the whole proposition, if you will. I almost would like to see, and I saw that you referenced very generically grant opportunities. I'd almost like to see an addendum or a living document where we keep a list of specific grant opportunities and keep that on the radar screen and get a little bit more into the specifics of that. We know there are different ways and different strategies for protecting open space, but I feel like, it's a bit challenging if you don't have some funds to back up some of those efforts. And so it would be nice to have something that deals with that. And then again, just as a final thought would be, the reason I ask about maintenance again is it's of concern to, particularly with the trails and so forth, it's of concern to our residents. And so I think we do want to have a clear understanding of whose purview maintenance falls under, whether it's a trail in the city or whether it's right outside of city limits, or if it's accessible open space. So I think those would be some good things. So anyway, those are some of my questions. As you could tell, I really absorbed what you guys presented, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys put so much work into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Keniston Lee. I have scribbled copious notes on your recommendations here, and I really love that you have a recommendation for including the residents as partners. I don't know that that's really spelled out enough in this, but we as Open Space Advisory Committee really encourage our interaction with the public and seek their input, provide a forum for their input. And so to kind of promote that in this particular document, I like that, and I have the rest, kind of all scribbled out here to include. And open space is, and the preservation of open space is more than just the trails. It is, actual open space that is just for grazing, for GAD, for all these other things. It's not just the trails and the trail system, even though that is what is most accessible to the public and that access is important. We do have the broader vision. So I like that you have brought these things to our attention, and we will definitely be incorporating those into kind of our updates of this draft as it is a working document. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bob, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I one of the difficulties here is that the plan itself, is focused on primarily outside the city. I wholeheartely agree with the points that you've raised. Everything that you've said, Heidi. I appreciate everything, and I understand that those are issues that are there, but those tend to be right now focused on issues within the city boundaries, within the areas, the open space in the city, most of which, or an awful lot of it, is within the GAD in the city. And to some extent, and it obviously not totally separate, but to some extent, you can almost think of them as two separate issues. The plan area, which is primarily outside the city, and the managing the open space within the city. I know the city is looking at on the Old Ranch open space there, which is not part of the GAD. The city is looking into trying to get some opportunities to graze that in order to reduce the fuel levels in there, and thereby reduce the fire hazard that's associated with that. I mean, the city is, from everything I can tell, is hearing the concerns of citizens about fire safety and that sort of thing, as well as maintenance of trails and parking. And there are things going on that we're aware of. One of them is this looking into a potential program funded by the Department of Conservation to open up the grazing on that area, reintroduce grazing into that area, which will reduce the amount of grass that's there and thereby reduce the fire hazard. So there are things like that that can be done, and they're underway. But again, in a lot of respects, that's one set of issues, because that's land that the city controls or has a control over, as opposed to these areas that we're looking at where the city doesn't have control over, and they have some of the same issues in there. I mean, I know East Bay Parks is having a great deal of trouble with their southern Las Trampas land use plan, trying to come up with access points for the area, and they have acquired a lot of land in at the southern end of Bollinger Canyon there, and but they're having trouble getting their land use plan completed because they're dealing with a lot of these same issues, and so it just mentally it helps to separate the two when you're thinking about them, and not really conflate them.
You know what, Bob? I totally get what you're saying with regard to jurisdictional separation. I get that. I also feel like this is a guiding document, and it's a guiding document with long reach. And so that's why I feel like where there are opportunities to set a tone for those issues where they arise within the open space world, that's important, then we need to make that statement so that it's on record that we want to be sensitive to those issues and that we're going to, address them. So I totally get your distinction. I still think where it's appropriate, we may want to see where we can incorporate a nod to that.
Yeah, well, another aspect of this is, last year the committee reorganized itself and it began to express its program in terms of 3 goals, preservation and protection of open space, use and management of open space, and outreach and education about open space. So we could begin to focus our efforts in those 3 areas. And, we're trying to focus on those, and those are broader than just the plan area itself. I mean, the plan area is looking at primarily outside the city boundaries, but those committees and their emphasis there, the subcommittees, are looking at these same kinds of issues throughout the whole city. So we're not overlooking them. It's just that right now we're focused on the areas primarily outside the city, but our 2022 plan, work plan, has steps to try to begin to address some of those. Keith mentioned trying to come up with a trail master plan and so forth, which will begin to address a lot of those kinds of issues.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Bree. You're on mute.
I have a little sign that says I'm on mute, and I apologize. I use my regular meeting. Thank you, Chair Olson. Hey, first of all, thank you guys so much. And this was, I can tell, Bob, this was a lot of work on not just your part, but the whole committee's part. And you guys have all asked for feedback. And I've been really sitting there thinking, being new, and how do I simplify this whole plan that make sure that it's a little more, easier to digest. So my feedback to you would be this. I first of all would put a timeline on the presentation talking about, first it goes to the Parks Commission, Planning Commission. When does public have input onto the plan? So I think it's really clear that the public knows when they will have input onto the open space master plan. So there's, it's very important. We've talked a lot about the residents partnership, and that would be where the partnership comes in. The second feedback I'd have is, I called it legislation. When you guys talked about connectivity, which I think is massively important as part of our master plan, but how do we work with the Planning Commission? How are we aware of any other legislation that comes through that may affect us? And I don't want to repeat what Heidi said, but she nailed what I was thinking all about. How do we make sure we're in line and maybe can lobby that? And then the last 2 points, I have a lot, but I know we're at time a lot, is maintenance. One thing I would include on the plan is, how do we get really clear on who owns what on open space? Like, who owns the maintenance and when it's done. And that's, I think part of the timeline also, but we need to understand the maintenance part of it and how it's upkeep and really not just now, but in the future. And then the last part is you talked about all your partnerships. And for me, what's really unclear is what role, I know we have the 90% outside the city, but how are we going to interact with all these partnerships? I would ask that you blow that out a little bit more for, when you list all the partnerships, what's the expectation there? Are we going to work with them and maybe give them a definition or define out a little bit more so we can understand that, or the reader might understand a little bit how that all interacts and why it's important. And maybe that might answer your 90% part of the question. I'm just trying to give feedback on helping it. And my last point is, I really think the land use consultant obviously is a smart way to go. And to Heidi's point, you guys have a great start, and it's amazing. I mean, some of the information you have there, but I think that having them involved, for the budget or way to pay for that would be a smart way to make sure that we're not missing anything, because they have a lot of search and reply there. So hopefully that feedback's helpful. I appreciate you guys sharing that, but that's how I would do my input is to kind of make it a little bit better. Thank you so much.
Could I just quickly a couple of comments on the public input? I think that's essential, and I've been an advocate for doing that. We've been holding off, until we could go to the commissions and the policy committee, so we don't get too far ahead of that. But I'm a very strong advocate for getting this out. Hopefully, we're going to be able to highlight this at a table that will be manning at the or staffing at the Wind and Art Festival. We do track legislation, or try to, working with various groups. Maintenance responsibilities, the simple and not really an oversimplification. Maintenance responsibility is going to fall to the landowner, whoever that is, whether it's the city, whether it's East Bay Parks, one of the land trusts, or if it remains in private ownership, it's going to be the landowner. So maintenance is going to, it's basically going to be the landowner. In terms of a land use consultant, we, in response to comments from particularly, I think, the planning staff, we had tried to make very clear that these are recommendations to the city council. They're not locked in stone. That the city council has asked us for recommendations, and we're providing them. And then any further decisions on these would need to be made using the normal city processes. And if that includes using a consultant, that's fine with us, but we've been asked to provide recommendations, and then the city has processes, both at the staff level and for the city council to go ahead and evaluate, assess those recommendations and decide what they want to do with them.
Thanks, Bob, for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Well,
And thank you, Commissioner Breed. I have good notes on your recommendations, and we will include those in our updates. Thank you.
That's kind. Thank you.
I just been knee deep in this, and so it's really nice to be able to sort of stand back and can get the feedback from all of you about the sort of the gray areas. And I keep thinking about what Commissioner Dorlick said at the beginning about, is this the Santa Ramon Valley Open Space Plan? And I think that is part of that partnership piece that I keep hearing coming up. It's the residents, it's the neighboring cities, it's the agencies. There's a bigger group that are impacted by this vision. And I know that the Open Space Advisory Committee has talked about having some kind of a collaborative event with various different stakeholders. So I don't know if this is the place to put that in the plan, but that's to me is an action item to actually reinforce the conversation, the partnerships, and how we make this move forward. So it's not just the city of San Ramon. So that's my feedback. Being able to stand back from it and hearing what the other commissioners have to say. I see Commissioner Dorlick's hand is up. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I think that's an excellent point. I mean, we've been discussing this in the Arts Advisory Committee meeting regarding an art summit to bring in all the collaborative partners within the Tri-Valley communities to really leverage and understand how we can best work together, even though 90% are outside of the borders, from that perspective. So, I mean, I would wholeheartedly agree that there should be, perhaps an open space summit and bring in all of these partners, including, as Commissioner Heidi had spoken, the residents, to make sure that, all the stakeholders are represented and there can be a more comprehensive plan, but also a comprehensive plan that has buy-in from those outside of the city, which are 90%. So maybe that would be a recommendation to look at too, is to, really convene a Tri-Valley open space, a summit to really discuss how best to have a consistent, coherent, available, resident-focused plan that incorporates a lot of what's in this plan, but also the collaborative element that has been stressed again and again and again in this conversation as the essential element to make this work. I mean, we can't make it work in this presentation, to the commission. We need to go outside if that's where the stakeholders are and bring them in and get their concurrence to move forward in an effort that will have not just better momentum, but better, a much better concrete answer to the entire community to take it forward. There'll be more, buy-in. There'll be more, moving forward momentum. And that's, I think, as you were pointing out, is something that should be done.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Commissioner Chair Kalik.
So yes, one of our goals for Open Space Advisory Committee that has been planned forward from 2019 to 2020 because of the pandemic, we are looking at, trying to put together an open space summit with all of our regional partners. And what we don't want is to hold up this plan because we are set back on our, group interaction. And so, to be able to do these recommendations, and between the Open Space Advisory Committee recommendations to the City Council movement forward, that's where we feel that really that kind of, extra outreach efforts are going to be, that, that we don't want to hold up this plan because our outreach efforts have been set back 2 years by pandemic. So we want to kind of put forward and not hold up these recommendations so that they're out there, so that they're known, so that the threats are known, so that the opportunities are known, so even if that means there are additional steps, that this is the first step coming from Open Space Advisory Committee with the, partners that we can include at this time. And then obviously there will be additional steps before this goes, into City Council action. These are just Open Space Advisory Committee recommendations at this point. And then it will go through the, City Council's vetting, and at that point be really, go into the outreach, to the public, to the partnerships, to the things like that. But, we're kind of looking at this as the first step of moving this forward and not having it stuck in a 3-year vetting cycle and such. So that's why we're kind of doing this as a, like I said, as a first step to get the conversation out there, to get it started. And then it will have several iterations beyond Open Space Advisory Committee, because we are advisory and because we are committee, not commission, not council, to go through those, things as we move forward.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's ready to go to the City Council. I mean, I couldn't be in concurrence to send it to the City Council.
For sure. That's why we have, this meeting tonight. We have presentations to the Planning Commission, and we have presentations to a subcommittee of City Council before these recommendations go to City Council.
Yeah, but I mean, I think having the partnerships solidified with concrete agreements and concrete terms and conditions is an important step before going to the City Council, that you're bringing forward concrete relationships and not just projected relationships.
Sure. And East Bay Regional Parks has been included, and our NGO on Open Space Advisory Committee is Seth Adams of Save Mount Diablo, and he has had his input on behalf in representation of that group as well. So we have those two components in addition to these three city components that we're looking for.
Yeah, but again, they're all outside of the city, and as you said, they're NGOs, except for East Bay. I just think it needs a lot more refining. I think it needs a lot more. There were a lot of very concrete examples of that, much more than I certainly presented, I think that collaborative, Congress, if you will, that meeting is very important to make it a plan that can be supported and move forward. Again, with the 90% being outside of the city, so the City Council can go 10%, but 90% of what you want is not there.
So noted. Very good. Thank you.
And I'm seeing that what we've been asked to do is to provide feedback and recommend a revised version incorporating the feedback from the Parks and Community Services Commission to be forwarded to the City Council. But it's my understanding that this will be presented to the Planning Commission first, correct? Okay. So I see Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're somewhat disregarding the fact that there has been a tremendous amount of interaction with these partners to date. So it's not like this is a brand new concept. If I understand correctly, Lorraine and Bob, this has been based on my reading of everything provided. You guys really have walked that walk, and you have interacted with folks that we would interact with as we discuss a regional approach to open space planning. So I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that a lot of that has taken place. I also wouldn't want for us to, I know, Lorraine, you're really concerned about this, an overly lengthy vetting process that keeps you from action. And we're very fortunate that you guys are so strong and you want to get action, and we appreciate that. One option could be to have this come back to us after it goes to planning, and I'm just throwing it out there, after it goes to planning, and then it goes to, what's after planning, Lorraine?
The City Council Policy Committee.
Subcommittee of
a subcommittee. Well, actually, I don't think we would take precedence over a council subcommittee, but after planning, you could come back to us and we could see how it's developing. I will let you guys hash that out with staff as to whether or not that's appropriate, but if there are concerns, that would be a possible approach.
Certainly, thank you.
All right, are we looking for a motion to accept the feedback and move it through the process?
Hey, Julia, I just want to make sure what we're trying to make a motion on here. Can you just repeat? I think the objective was to provide feedback. And my question is, do we need a motion moving forward? We've provided the feedback for them, but do we need a motion to even do this? Because I think the objective was just feedback, but I'm a little confused. So if you could help, that'd be helpful.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm reading in our recommended action is provide feedback and recommend a revised version incorporating the feedback from the Parks and Community Services Commission be forwarded to the City Council. That's what our report says.
Okay.
But I'm hearing that this is actually going to the planning prior, so we would need to amend.
Yeah, I actually would be prepared to make a motion that we've already provided our feedback, but that we push this plan, the draft plan, along to the Planning Commission and then to a subcommittee of City Council for further review, with the intention that it go before city council at the appropriate time. And so Christy, can you create a motion based on that? Okay.
Do we have a second?
Hey Heidi, can we include that the land use consultant? I mean, that needs to be in there somewhere along the way for me to feel comfortable. I don't, before it goes to city council.
That's a good point. Okay, yeah.
Where's the touch point on that? So that's.
Yeah, I would be happy to amend my motion to include, well, actually, Kathy, I see you thinking, I see you thinking. To Lorraine's point, wait a minute, Commissioner Dorlick, for 1 second, please. To Lorraine's point, that is a city process. And so I think it's a little more complicated than us. Well, we're making a recommendation. Can we make a recommendation that it be seen by the consultant prior to going to the full city council?
I think you've provided the feedback. That's the first step. So you have a motion on the table, so you're going to need to address it one way or the other because it's sitting there. But ultimately, you do have a choice not to motion to move it forward. You have a choice to ask for the feedback and then to bring it back to you, like as you said. So you've got a few different options in there because we have the feedback. Now it's just about, are you feeling comfortable enough that with your feedback, as you've stated it, if it's incorporated, that you want it to move on to the policy committee of the city council, or you would like to see it again? But you still need to address your motion that's on the table.
Okay, so I only have a motion. I'm not hearing I'm sorry, I don't want to do Christy's jobs here. I'm not here, or Julie's job. I'm not hearing a second.
I hear I will second it.
Okay, so my additional discussion would be then, are we at liberty to assert an opinion about when and if the plan is reviewed by a consultant? That's the question.
There's not currently any plan or funds for a consultant. So I just want you to make sure you're aware of that. It's not like we would take the plan and hand it to a consultant and it would come back. We would need to budget for that and get that into our planning and make that happen. So
are you saying then that any motion made currently would need to push it forward, would need to be with the understanding that it may not be seen by a consultant?
No, you could recommend that you endorse staff's opinion on that and recommend that it gets to a consultant. It could still be presented to the city council, but it would be presented with the Parks Commission recommendation that all of the base work was excellent, fabulous, and that these are the 3 or 4 areas that if need be addressed in the plan, and that you recommend that a land consultant look at it after that.
Okay. And is now the time where you want me to make an amendment to my initial motion?
Well, my hand's up.
Oh, excuse me. I yield the floor to Commissioner Dorlick.
All right,
Thank you.
Commissioner Dorlick.
Part of what you had mentioned earlier, Commissioner, was to have it come back to us following the review by the Planning Commission. I think that's an excellent idea. And I would urge to have that as part of the motion, that we have that ability to review it following the feedback from the Planning Commission.
Okay, and since we're in the discussion phase, can we, Chair Osland, ask for others' opinions on this potential amendment to the motion?
I see a hand raised, Commissioner Breed.
Hey, thank you, Chair Osland. Hey, Heidi, I'm with Will. I was going to come back Commissioner Dorlick is. I was going to come back and say, let's have to get the Planning Commission's feedback, have them come back with the report to us. So I'm aligned with Commissioner Dorlick's recommendation. That's what I was going to feed you afterwards.
Okay. I see more people with hands raised.
Right. They're popping up. I'm going to hear from Commissioner Mitra first, and then I'll come to you, Lorraine.
Yeah, I'll just echo about reviewing this after seeing going through the Planning Commission, because I want to see that final version before we recommend it to go to the Planning Commission, subcommission, or whatever.
So Yes, thank you. Our request as Open Space Advisory Committee is to receive your feedback tonight. We will incorporate that feedback, and if this commission would like us to present again after we discuss and get feedback from the Planning Commission and the subcommittee, we can certainly do that before there is any recommendation from this commission. So at this point, we are asking for you to receive our presentation and for us to receive your feedback. And then at a future meeting, we would present again at your discretion to provide an endorsement of this program.
Okay, Chair Oslin, are you prepared for an amended motion?
I'm prepared for amended motion, and that is why I kept reading it, because the Planning Commission piece wasn't in there.
Right.
That was my understanding too. So Commissioner Dorlick, and then we'll make a motion amendment. Wait, you're on mute again.
You're muted.
My suggestion was to come back to us prior to our recommending to go to the subcommittee. I mean, I think that's the important vetting process there, because when we send it to the council and even the subcommittee, we need to have our feedback in there so that we know what's going forward. So my recommendation was go to the Planning Commission, incorporate some of the suggestions that were in the discussion this evening, go to the Planning Commission, and then come back to us with the updates, perhaps with the feedback from the Planning Commission. And then from there, we can take a look at that, understand it, and then recommend that it go to the subcommittee.
So do we have an amended motion?
Okay, so I think the best amended motion would be, based on what I'm hearing from folks, is I move that we receive the report, that the draft plan, that we provide our comments as we have to the Open Space Advisory Committee, that it move forward to the Planning Commission for additional review and comment, that it be returned to us as the Parks and Community Services Commission for our continued review. And that the nuance to that would be that we ask staff to get back to us on the likelihood of a consultant keeping an eye on it, whether that would be a viable option, and what that timetable might look like. So that when it's, and this is an aside, Christy, but when it is brought back to us, then we know whether that's a realistic option or not. Would that be fair, Kathy?
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Oh,
Carol. Yeah, Carol has to second it.
Take a vote.
Okay, we ready for roll call?
Yes.
Hey, Christy, can you please just reread it for us for clarification? Because I want to make sure I'm clear on what we're voting on, please.
The first one or the second one?
I think we're only voting on the second one.
Second one.
Thank you.
Where is it? To receive the draft plan, provide the comments to the feedback to the Open Space Advisory Committee, then forward on to planning. From planning, that we will receive their feedback back to Parks to review, continue the review, and it will to get back regarding likely to possibly to see if we can have a land use consultant added into there before going on to City Council. I mean,
got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Commissioner Dorlick.
Yes.
Commissioner Breed.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra. You're muted.
Yeah. Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say in conclusion, thank you very much for listening to our presentation, for providing your feedback. That is very important to us. And we will take this recommendation forward and come back to you again with an revised format that includes, what we talked about tonight. And we will see you again shortly. Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Lorraine.
Thank you, Bob and Lorraine, very
And
much.
Bob.
And
Thank you.
Okay, so I have 9:25. Do we want a 5-minute break? Yes? No? Not seeing any. Okay, keep moving. All righty. 8.3, picture this, temporary art project. We're going to receive a presentation by Adam Chow. And we will make a motion to either approve the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair Osland. Good evening, Commissioners. Good to see you again. This evening, I am presenting to you the Picture This temporary public art project. This public art project is in collaboration with the town of Danville, the city of Dublin, and also the city of Pleasanton as well. And so the Picture This project is a temporary public art project. It features oversized wooden picture frames that will be uniquely painted by local artists and placed in prominent locations around the Tri-Valley. The frames are intended for visitors to stand behind the frames, take a picture, and then be able to share it via social media to be able to expand the reach of the artwork and the location that they are placed. The frames will be approximately 4 feet wide by 3 feet tall and mounted at an appropriate height for people to stand within the frame to be able to take the pictures. This project was inspired by a project out of Santa Cruz County called Outside the Frame. The town of Danville started to take the lead on this and invited us to be part of it. And we were very excited to be able to look at the opportunity that they've provided for us. The artwork, as I had mentioned, for the frames would be done by local artists that we would commission to be able to paint them. It would be a call for artists that we would announce, which will come out here shortly if this is approved. And the call for artists will allow us to be able to get local artists to be able to paint the frames in a time frame according to the timeline that we have. The artwork that we receive back will be ranked, so we will figure out which artists will be selected, and the selection process will be done through the Parks Community Services Commission liaison to the Arts Advisory Committee, which currently is Commissioner Dorlick, which will help us in representing Santa Ramon and selecting the ranked artists. Each of the cities will have a representative as well from their arts and culture commissions to be able to help with the artist submissions, to be able to help review and rank those. After they're ranked, the committee, the staff from each of the cities will be able to help make that determination in regards to proper placement, locations, and those sorts of things. In regards to location, since I mentioned that, with the 3 cities and a town that are looking to participate in this project, the Santa Ramon has 1 location, or has 8 locations that we're looking to be able to provide the frames at. So the 8 locations are listed within the staff report. The first is Central Park Amphitheater, and that is going to coincide with the summer concert series. The frames will be up in mid-July. So that would coincide with the summer concert series. Be able to help us out with that piece. People can be able to walk around within the event to be able to take pictures within the frame. So it's a great opportunity to be able to engage with the artwork at that place. Also looking at Summit View Trail, which is on the top of Old Ranch Road. This is a great location because it provides a vista view of Santa Ramon and the surrounding hills. It provides just a very nice location that we're looking at up there. Also as a great introduction to several of our trails that we have in that area as well. Location 3, we're also looking at one for Forest Song Farms, as this is a unique location that we have within Santa Ramon. And then location 4 is at Valley View Park, which has a great park location and a nice backdrop with the hills that we have in that valley that we have behind that park. The Bollinger Fountain, which is a well-known location for prom and homecoming and wedding pictures and all kinds of things, as we all know. Another location that we're looking at is City Hall as well, as it is a great gateway to the walking district and a prominent picture. As you can see from your backgrounds that you have, it's an iconic building that we have within Santa Ramon. And also looking to be able to partner for the next couple locations with Bishop Ranch as well. The city center in our downtown locations is a great opportunity to be able to work with City Center to be able to showcase that location and that iconic space, and also Annabelle Lake as well, as part of the walking district in one of those nice hidden locations that a lot of people don't necessarily know about, but is also on the walking loop that we have there. So those are 8 locations that we're looking at using. We are looking at having 8 different frames. That is the tentative plan as of this point. The timeline that we're looking at is really trying to be able to release the call for artists at the end of this week, with responses returned to us by the end of, by the end of May, with the selection by the early June, so we can be able to get those selections taken care of, providing the frames to the artists for them to be able to paint the artwork with installation on July 16th. And that would go through September 30th. So we have a good end of summer, early fall timeline, preventing, hopefully, knock on wood, any rain within that, though we do need the rain. This would hopefully beat that time frame out. But it's a great opportunity as people are getting out and about to be able to experience the artwork that's there and be able to engage with the art pieces. As a Tri-Valley project, picture this will be advertised through each of the participating cities and towns to their residents. There will be a collaborative marketing plan that we will put together. But one of the things that we will do is that we'll, as Ceramon and the frames that we'll have within our locations, we will definitely be publicizing those locations specifically for our residents to make sure that they visit those in addition to the ones in the other cities as well, so to be able to see the different frames that are offered. We're looking at about 8 frames in the town of Danville, and the city of Pleasanton are looking at somewhere in that range as well. The city of Pleasanton is still working to be able to make their final determinations on what it is that they're looking at. But in addition to the materials that we're looking to publicize the project, we'll also have a website, map, and possibly a visitor passport to help the visitors locate the different frames that will be throughout the Tri-Valley as well. We did present this project to the Arts Advisory Committee. They approved the project and passed it along to the Parks Commission. One of the feedback pieces that they really wanted to make sure was looked at was the measurability of the success of the project. And so in order to be able to accomplish that, one of the things we need to do is be able to track, not necessarily track every person who visits, but be able to find a way to be able to create a metric in order to be able to track how people visit and how they engage with it. Obviously, the goal of this project is for people to visit the pieces, take pictures, and be able to post them on social media. And so using a hashtag is a great way to be able to look at some of those. So using the hashtag Picture This, which is the name of the project, Picture This Ceramon, is also helps to identify specifically for Ceramon locations. And we can be able to track that hashtag through some of the different mediums that we have to be able to do that. In addition to doing that, we want to also make sure that people know where the locations are that people are taking the pictures at. And obviously we want Ceramon to be well represented within that. And so we would ask people to pin the locations in their social media posts. We will say this picture was taken at City Hall, or this picture was taken at Summit View Park or Summit View Trails. Different locations like that, we would definitely want people to share so others that they're seeing it can be able to go and be able to visit those locations as well. And so that is one of the ways that we'll be able to help look at, to be able to identify how we're presenting that information to our residents and be able to get that information for measurability and success of the project as well. One thing we're also going to do with the frames is there's going to be an interpretive panel or a sign, be able to help people understand the project, what the scope of the project is, kind of giving those directions on where to post, what hashtags to use, how to use the location pins, those sorts of things. So people have a good understanding of what the project is, who the artist is that has painted the frames as well. So it's a great opportunity to be able to share additional information regarding the project. In regards to the fiscal impact for this project, we're looking at about $7,000 that would come out of the Public Art in Parks CIP that we have established to be able to help fund public art. The money for this project would go towards an artist stipend of $300 because we want to make sure our artists are paid appropriately for their work and a living wage, and also costs for people to create the frames as well. So that would be material supplies in addition to the marketing that we would need to be able to put forth for this project. So that is the project that we were looking to do with the town of Danville, city of Ceramon, and the city of Pleasanton. So the project that we're bringing forth for you tonight is looking for approval to be able to proceed. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Chair Roseland.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam. I'd like to open it up to public comment first before we receive feedback from the commissioners.
Great. Let me just share my screen. One moment, please. Hello, we have Colin, use your line. You're able to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Mr. Chow, I have questions for you on your presentation. On page 102 and 103, I believe those are examples of what your project looks like, right? So my questions to you are as follows. Number one, we're spending $7,000 to, what are we trying to get in return? Are we trying to promote those 8 locations that you have presented in your report? If that's the case, I get the lot, I get the farm. I don't get the trail, and I don't get some of the other more private spaces that might become an intrusion to our city residents. Yesterday, I don't know if you were listening to if you had listened to the city council meeting, residents are complaining that the city parks and open space projects have been bringing a lot of intruders who basically, leave litter and create illicit parking into private HOA. Do you think in the process of you trying to draw crowds to take pictures, the same thing may be repeated? If that's the case, as a public, as a taxpayer, why do I need to support your project that is using my money to bring trash and illegal parking that takes up my already extremely limited HOA parking spaces? Why should I support this? And then also, I'm wondering, your 103, page 103, contains photos of children. I'm very concerned about that. I really don't want, especially, and this pertains to the Central Park location, if, we have families just enjoying their weekend, leisure time together. Now you have this picture frame. Next thing you know, we don't know who is snapping pictures of minors. I'm not sure you have thought through, safety of children and, taxpayers' privacy related to your project. I think you're trying to support the artists, and I want to support them too. But you must convince me, in supporting them, you're not violating me, nor violating our children in the city. Before you can answer those questions, I would like to ask the park commissioners to please pursue the answers to those questions before they support your project or vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We also have, we do not have any other public comment.
And I'll close public comment. I see Commissioner Drollick's hand is up.
Thank you. So we did have a fairly long conversation in the Arts Advisory Committee regarding this. Adam, I noticed that one thing I hadn't noticed before that was that there's 4 out of the 5 Tri-Valley communities that are involved, and Livermore is the only city that's not. Any reason that Livermore didn't participate or isn't participating?
Yeah, we invited Livermore. We contacted them. They have a new person who's doing their public art project right now. Unfortunately, they did not get back to us in regards to participation. So we're proceeding with the 4
Gotcha.
right now.
So that was at the Bothwell?
It's through the city of Livermore. They have the Economic Development Department.
Gotcha. Okay. And just to comment on our public comment, this is bringing, to use the term, kind of a whimsical way to get people to be in these locations, to have fun and such like that. And I don't foresee any particular danger to the young people, because whether they're in a frame or they're sitting at a picnic table, people can still take photos of them. So the fact that there's a picture frame where they can actually have some fun, and the families can use that as a great photo opportunity, especially for family members that aren't in the area or et cetera, and provide that kind of opportunity for that. It's I don't think there's any issue regarding the safety of children are going to be violated by this project. I don't see that, since you can take photos of anybody you want, whether they're inside a picture frame or, walking down the street. And these aren't areas that, most of the areas are in, most of them are actually in the public purview and quite, visible areas and trafficked areas.
Commissioner Mitra.
Hey, Adam. Couple of questions. Number one, about that 7,000. I know we are doing this in a collaboration with 2 other cities. So 7,000 is from San Ramon, right? It's not a total expense for all 3 cities. It is just our expense.
That'll be our expense, approximately.
Our expense. You brought up something, and you said that in the art advisory committee, you guys had discussion at length about how do you measure the success at the end. Can you elaborate that? Because that part I didn't get it. I mean, yes, we can have a hashtag, we can have this, but how are you going to measure it? I mean, one thing is that put it there, let people have it, have fun on that. But if you are trying to measure it as a success against $7,000 expense, I didn't get that part. How do you actually planning to measure that?
Yeah, and what we're really looking at doing, just to look at the number of visitors that we had at each of the different sites. And so there's some comparisons that we could be able to create in regards to hashtags, especially if each of the cities is doing their own, to be able to see if there were different measurabilities in regards to, you can look at time, you can look at frequency, you can look at location. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you could be able to do if you have some of the metrics in it. The couple of members were interested to be able to see what some of those metrics would be specifically. For some of our other temporary art projects, we haven't done that nearly as much. And so for the last temporary public art project we had was the Upcycle Your Heart Out, where we had the outdoor gallery within Central Park and then also at the Doherty Station Community Center. We didn't necessarily do metrics on that because one of the things that we're really just trying to do is be able to get art inside the parks. And the metrics weren't nearly as important. And so, but it was brought up by the Arts Advisory Committee that they were interested to see what some of those metrics could be. And so we're going to take a dive into that and be able to see what we come up with.
Yeah. And I mean, did Santa Cruz, I think whom we are inspired from, right? Did they do any sort of metrics analysis, or it just they didn't do anything? It was popular. Not. That's what. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, Vice Chair Peniston Lee.
Yeah. In a word, in a phrase, I love it. I like the message that it sends about collaborating with our neighboring communities. I think that's really cool when we have these opportunities to collaborate with neighboring communities. One thing is, it's like right down, it's just perfect for like teens because they love to take their pictures and youth. And so I noticed you pretty much have an over the summer timeframe. And I'm wondering, it would be something I would hope that Teen Council could get on board with and could promote. And so maybe that's a time frame that all the neighboring communities have collectively agreed to, but it would be neat if not this cycle, but a future cycle sort of corresponding in a way that Teen Council can help us promote it. And so in lieu of that, maybe when there are opportunities to communicate through the schools, we could do that as well, or communicate through our art classes in the schools, something along those lines. I'd like to see, if we're going to do these things, these public art, projects, I'd like to see us really take advantage of opportunities ways to promote it. But I think it's exciting. I think it's neat. I remember a time when the utility boxes was a real brave thing for us. And I love driving by those utility boxes. So I'm excited about this. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Commissioner Breed.
Thank you, Chair Oslin. Hey, Adam, nice job on the presentation. And I love some of the locations. I actually went out and drove and looked at some of it because I thought it was pretty cool. My question to you, though, is how are we going to manage any maintenance or vandalism? Are we going to check it? Is that going to be additional cost to the city? Or you can say, hey, the other places didn't have any vandalism. I just want to make sure we thought through maintenance and vandalism if that does happen and how that's being managed. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we always look at with public art is, that vandalism piece. And so these pieces will be primed, they'll be painted, and then they also have a sealant on them as well, an anti-graffiti sealant on them. So it should make removing any graffiti fairly simple. That's pretty standard practice for a lot of our pieces. We did that for the last Upcycle Your Heart Out and also for our utility boxes as well. In regards to graffiti specific, vandalism, destruction, hopefully we don't have any specifically. Generally, arts actually is fairly resilient to vandalism. And that's one of the great things about art. And that's part of the reason why you see a lot of public art in a lot of large urban areas, because it does deter vandalism in a number of ways, because of the artists respect that work and it creates its own deterrent. So we are, hopeful in that ways that we are hopeful that we won't have any vandalism or damage to these pieces. But, part of it is we won't know until it's out there, and we just cross our fingers, but we have planned accordingly in regards to that though.
And we don't foresee any additional costs to the city because of that element at all. Okay, thank you, Adam.
We're not planning for any costs in addition to that.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
I think my only comment is, I think it's fun and playful. I like that the fact that it will be in the summer and families are out and people are going to be doing things. But the Summit View Trail is the only location that I kind of not thrilled with, because I feel like that's the nature. So the others, well, Forest Home Farms is a farm, but I feel like more urban, suburban would feel better to me than the Summit View Trail. But everything else feels fun, and people are out walking and riding their bikes, and they're in the more public spaces. But the Summit View Trail location doesn't really resonate with me. So do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the report and the project as specified with, I'm just scrolling to find the name of it again. Sorry, Picture This Temporary Art Project.
I'll second it.
Great, let's do roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yo.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you, passed.
Thank you, Adam. All right. Item 8.4, Library Advisory Committee recommendation. We had a couple interviews recently, and Kathy will introduce our new committee members.
I think I can be pretty brief because we, in both cases, we'll go one at a time, but in both cases you had one applicant and the subcommittee who interviewed are recommending that. So the Library Advisory Committee has the 5 members, 2 alternates. They have 1 vacancy, and the subcommittee interviewed that applicant on Wednesday, April 20th, and are recommending Musimi Kota to serve as alternate number 2 in the Library Advisory Committee with a term to expire in March of 2024.
We have a motion to move this candidate forward.
So moved.
Second that.
Great, let's do a roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you, passed.
And 8.5, our Senior Citizen Advisory Committee recommendation.
In that same way, the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee has 7 members and 2 alternates. They announced the vacancies and advertised. There are currently two vacancies on that, consisting of 2 alternate positions. However, we only had 1 applicant. And the subcommittee interviewed them on Wednesday, April 20th, and are recommending, oops, I lost my name on that one. recommending appointment of,
Sandra Lee March.
thank you, I just grabbed it, Sandra Lee March, as alternate number 1 with a term to expire in March of 2024.
So moved. I'll second it.
And who was the first? Was it Commissioner Breed? Yes. Okay. And roll call will be Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you. Passed.
All right, item 9, staff reports, 9.1, recreation, maintenance and operations report. We're going to receive these together. And Kathy?
Just in brief, as you have the report in your packet, a couple of highlights. In the rec report, you might have noted about our accommodation we did for our hearing impaired lifeguard. That was pretty exciting for us to be able to do that. And we have one very happy young lady who is making a dream come true. We have a nice note of accommodation for our senior center staff for making it welcoming. Really excited about our tennis reservation program going well with 1,350 no-fee reservations from 10/21 to 4/22. Overall, really, we're seeing participation numbers rising in all areas. So we're pretty excited about that. And of course, the entertainment schedule for the Art and Wind is in there as well. So you want to take a look at that. On the operations side, we've got the sports field lighting at Central Park fixed. That was a big deal that it was broken and it was a lot of work, but Public Services knocked it out of the park and got that up and operational quickly. You might have noticed the Monarch Park turf damage as well. That was a strange one that someone had sprayed some kind of a poison or Roundup on that field in a rectangular shape. But the damage is now being mitigated. We're getting that fixed up, so that'll be back. And also very excited, after many years of wishing for it, Forest Home Farm now has an automatic gate. So Patsy, who is our sheep co-op person, doesn't have to get out of her truck, unlock the gate, go in and relock it. She can just click a button.
It's wonderful.
Any questions?
I see we have a public comment.
Let me take a moment to bring up my timer and then I'll bring in the public. A moment. Caller user 1, you're able to speak.
Hi, maybe it's getting late. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you any time in your presentation just said that somebody sprayed poison, Poison? Is that what you said?
I'm sorry, we're only able to hear your comments.
Oh, okay, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Maybe it's getting late. I just want to make sure I heard the presenter correctly. Did you in any time in your presentation said that somebody sprayed something that was poison, Poison? Is that what you said?
Yes, that is correct. It appears that someone sprayed some kind of a weed killer on the grass, which killed a section of it. And you can see an image of it in the report if you go to the city website and look at the packet.
Okay, so then that leads to my comment. If it is poisonous, it is hazardous to human body. I'm pretty sure you guys are experienced enough to probably put up yellow tape or warning sign because it is extremely necessary. Otherwise, if it's in an area where toddlers or the public, even dogs, it's extremely injurious to our, stakeholders. If it is poisonous, perhaps there has to be some sort of SOP, standard operation procedure, in terms of how to take care of it, instead of just letting it go and then put up a picture on the website, which most people really don't browse any city websites, but those people who go near there, they can obviously see yellow tape or a sign. It's very important that you warn the public. Please, if you did not do that, please make sure you establish a poison SOP going forward with the public works that needs to be addressed with special attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further public comment.
Thanks, Kathy, for your report, Recreation Maintenance and Operations Report. Item 10, Commission Liaison Reports and Announcements. We're going to be combining these together. I'd like to just call on you directly. I'm going to start with Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Okay, so for City Council, April 26th meeting, there were several special presentations, a proclamation declaring April 2022 as National Donate Life Month relative to organ and tissue donation. Recognition of the San Ramon 101 graduates was exciting. Proclamation regarding a citywide commitment to reduce the use of single-use foodware in an effort to create a trash-free San Ramon. They also introduced a new community development employee, Lucas Haas, no relation to our own Mr. Haas, who's a planning specialist. Our recommendations for teen council were accepted and appointments were made. There was a public hearing regarding the resolution approving the West Side specific plan amendment, and I won't get into the specifics. There was another public hearing regarding the resolution establishing fees and charges for various municipal services for fiscal year 22-23. A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement with Smart Outdoor for the sponsored trail signage that we've heard about. That passed 5-0. I'm going real fast because I know we're all tired. Let's see. Oh, this was interesting. There was a public hearing introducing an ordinance amending code regarding the PD's use of specialized or military equipment. It's an amendment to the San Ramon Municipal Code, and basically I think it's driven by the state, and it has to do with funding, acquisition, and use by the PD of military equipment. I don't think we have a ton of it, but it does involve some annual reporting and some, different things like that. So there was just an update on that. There was a special meeting on the 10th of May. It was the budget workshop, the annual budget workshop. They did talk about the proposed 2022-23 city budget. Also, the capital improvement program, which consists of capital improvement projects and then the capital improvement budget. They're going to discuss it again on May 24th when they anticipate adopting it. So if you're into budget stuff, you can look at it there. And then they followed that meeting up with a regular city council meeting. There was, as Kathy already said, a lovely presentation to our own Jessica Reber with her. She was the recipient of the Outstanding Therapeutic Recreator Award from the California Parks and Recreation Society. And I think the consensus was how lucky we are to have somebody on staff that deals with recreational therapy and facilitates making our programs inclusive. And so that was really neat to see her up there acknowledged by City Council. The Open Space Advisory Committee gave their 2021 annual report. And then the meeting was sadly but nicely adjourned in memory of Shirley Ernest. So that is it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I attended the Planning Commission, and of course, they took up on the facility, whatever, over on San Ramon Valley Boulevard, and they approved it, and so that will go through. There is a day for appealing it if you want. That is through May 13th, but they did spend time on that will go through. They also discussed the Primrose Daycare on Bollinger Canyon Road. That is where the old Chevys used to be. And there is a motion to approve it But there's a draft resolution on it also. So I'm a little confused how you can approve it, but yet there's a draft resolution that has to be carried out. So that's a problem. And this City Valley Ranch number 6 that has been approved, but East Bay Mud did have issue with it. They will all really be the same, but they will be exclusive condos, but they'll still own the airspace, and they won't be single family homes in that one particular area, but they'll be sold as condos. And it was approved as amended, so that otherwise, if they didn't agree with East Bay Mud, there would be like a 6-month plus delay in trying to get the East Bay Mud's equipment in there. Crow Canyon widening is in the process now. There will be 3 lanes on each side that will take part of the median, and they'll take part of the sides on each side there. And it will go from El Costa to St. George there on the Crow Canyon. And after that, then the next in 2023, they will continue widening it clear to Doherty Valley. So there is some, then where we have at the Daughtery Station, the over 55 community center, not community center, but the housing over 55. The first and second phase went very well. And now on the last phase that they're going to have moderate income, because it was interesting that the people wanting it made too much money, but yet they didn't make enough or whatever. So that will be open to people who are not just over 55. So that will be open there. And there's a lot of things that are coming up. One of the meetings coming up in June will be a presentation for the Morgan, Mason Morgan site there. And there's some other dates that they have there. And so if you want me to finish there, or if there's any questions, otherwise I will report on the sheep shearing that we held. And we had approximately 2,000 people attend. And this San Ramon Historic Foundation ran out of hot dogs, donuts, and cookies at 11:45 a.m. So we were finished. We sold chips and ice cream. If you do want some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, we have 12 boxes left. Each box has 16 bars in it. So hopefully maybe AAUW can help them at the Art and Wine Festival for making it there. And so now we're planning on the October Fest coming up. And so that will be interesting how much food we're going to be discussing that we're going to have. But we are looking at some caterers perhaps to help us that, because if there's 2,000 people, there's no way that we can have enough food. So anyway, we've met with a person a couple of times, so we're looking into that. So that was the big event. It was very successful, and we were sorry that we didn't have more hot dogs and buns, but my husband had picked up all the buns that there was around in the Dublin, San Ramon, Pleasanton, and Livermore area to get 200 long hot dog buns. So anyway, it was successful and a lot of work, but it was fun.
Yeah.
So that's my report, and thank you.
Thank you. How about Commissioner Dorlick?
Right. Well, if you ran out of hot dogs, you could have had lamb chops.
No, we didn't have any way to cook them. No.
So the Arts Advisory Commission basically talked about the Frame It, project. So we had a presentation on that here. He also had election of new officers, the ever exciting review of the Brown Act. Adam made it very, very exciting. Discussion of return to in-person meetings. So I guess that's a June and then the picture of this art project. And then one of the members, there was the induction of the new members that were available there. And one of the members, Patrick Gutierrez, has resigned from the advisory committee, because many of you know that he did move up to Lake Oswego in Portland. And the first week he was there, he experienced the incredibly cold temperatures and 3 feet of snow. So what can I say? And that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Breed, thank you, thank you, thank you. He filled in for me.
And wrote your report, so I
Thank
thought you would
you,
be
thank
getting them. So, hey, I'm happy to provide my update. I went to the Senior Advisory Committee and the Open Space Committee. So I'll start with Senior Advisory first. We also had the Brown Act presentation from Martin, which is always a great refresher. Was good for me, actually. So he did a nice job with that. Big news, mark your calendars, September 22nd from 1:30 to 4 p.m. will be the Senior Resource Fair. And why did I say mark your calendars? Because at that same time, we'll be celebrating 30 years celebration of the Casa Senior Center. Yep, 30 years for the Casa Senior Center. So I'm not sure what time the cake cutting is, but I would say anytime between 1:30 and 4:30. So it would be great if we could all attend and support and celebrate that important resource for the city and partake. They will also start in-person meetings in June. And a fun little fact that always amazes me that I love to share all the time because I think it's so cool, that we had 490 seniors attend the AARP tax preparation. Can't say that's enough, but the outreach that they did and the number of people we helped was, it amazes me. And also general fitness classes are back. So for me, general fitness classes are back and excuse me. So that was my big news there. Any questions on senior advisory? Just remember, big date on September 22nd, 1:34. Next, the open space. Let me grab that one. Open space. They had the presentation for their master plan to city council already, so we covered that. Kevin went through the outer spatial hiking app. Hopefully everyone knows that. Did I say that right, Julia? Thank you.
Yes, you did.
There's the outer spatial hiking app. Now here's some fun facts, which I always kind of like. That we had over 8,000 interactions on that app last year. So, for an app that, that I didn't know a lot about, had a lot of interactions. And then also on our city website where we have all the maps, people go to figure out, where they want to hike. We had over 15,000 views on the website. And I think the average stay was like 4, I know stay is the right terminology, but the average visit on the website was 4 minutes. So, we're getting really good interaction and people live in our city, trying to understand trails, getting outside, exercising. And I really do think the Trail Challenge has really been a motivator because they've talked about how some people are out there wearing the Trail Challenge shirts. I went to get that one, by the way. They only had children's medium sizes, so needless to say, I won't have one. But anyways, it shows you the demand behind that and what a good job that I think the city and also the Open Space Committee did on advertising that and getting people in. By the way, those of you who are calendaring, June 18th will be the Rancho San Ramon hike that I forget who's leading it. Julie might be able to help me, but someone from the Open Space Committee is leading that. And then the last one was the Keith presented the the master plan. And Lorraine, felt there wasn't enough time to digest it and give a solid conversation. So Julie, I'm telling you this for your preparation, but they will bring that up next meeting to get a little bit deeper in providing feedback and getting that where they want that plan to be. But Lorraine opened it up for public comment for folks who want to provide public comments, so they get that, get the public comment first. So for your planning purpose, Julie, you'll be working on that next meeting. And then last one is they will have a table at Art and Wind, sharing some of the trail maps. And Julia, they need you to sign up for a stint. So I couldn't do that for you. So I told them I'd help where you can't. So, but so that will be at the Art and Wind Festival. So, and the goal will be to answer any questions, promote hiking and our trails in San Ramon and open space. So I thought that was pretty neat. And they will also be going to in-person in City Hall in June. Those are my 2 reports. Hopefully it was informative.
I'm just glad that Commissioner Breed has started contributing some fun facts because Commissioner Dorlick lives for fun facts. So good job on that one.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Mitra.
Well, there's nothing much to report from my side because library committee meets every quarter, and tomorrow is the next meeting. And last 2 months there was no meeting, so I'll probably report it next month. The other one that I'm supposed to go to is in innovation and technology. Right. Unfortunately, so far there was no meeting.
Oh no! Okay.
Yeah, I wish there was a meeting because I have no idea. No, personally, I have no idea what work, what chatter, what the ideas are. I have no idea. No meeting is off right now. The next meeting I see is in June. So hopefully we'll have that meeting and we'll get some idea what it is, and I can report back. I wish to report back something, but unfortunately there's nothing to report back at the point.
Yeah, tell them to reboot and download it.
I think we're getting punchy.
Control
Time to go.
I have no report because I was gone. So thank you, Commissioner Breed, for filling in for me. But I want to bring us home before we open up public comment. This is Student Commissioner Thanamala's last meeting. And we heard a lot about the teen council, but we also, we're going to miss you. Please keep in touch and all the best. All the best.
Thank you. Yes, of course. I'll definitely come back and visit, especially when you guys are in person.
Awesome. Great. And we have a public comment, and I see a hand raised.
Yes, so let me bring up my screen and then I'll bring in the public. A moment. Call in user 1, you're able to speak.
First, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank this commission again for the special meeting that took place earlier at 5:15 today. It was a very interesting opportunity to get to know the senior center, and I have some ideas about the celebration that is now on the calendar for September, and I'm wondering if maybe the teen councils can help celebrate by providing artistic or literary expressions about the senior center. I think it has a lot of interesting architectural features that really are worthy of mentioning and celebration. The skylight and the rotunda, and the area where the books on top of the bookshelves, those areas really can be celebrated. So I'm wondering if it's possible to ask the teen councils to pass words while the teens are out, around summertime, that they can go and freely sketch that area, or, maybe write like a short story that involves using the center or architectural elements as the story elements, and then come up with like a fiction of sorts. I think, that would be really nice to celebrate the building, and we can then display these artistic work at the city rotunda, and to have more exposure to the public and to bring attention to what this building means to our city. I really feel that it's a very important bonding place, and it's just a really nice, peaceful place that really deserves to be celebrated. So again, I want to thank you all for that special meeting today, and I look forward to the celebration in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further comments.
Item 11, adjournment. Meeting is adjourned, 10:14. Thank you all for your participation and